Test, 1 2 1 2.
Well, we'll just kind of waste space.
We're going to take to the Twitter.
Tweet somebody.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
I wish my brother George was here.
Good evening, everybody. This is Brian Smith on Smith Radio, along with
Kerry Smith,
giving you all the details and a heads up of last week, this week, the week to come. We're here to calm you down, to help you out, help you understand what's going on in America, what's going on to our republic, our democracy, and how to succeed in capitalism, because it is the absolute, hands-down, best system ever found by man. And today, I'm not saying today is going to be a special show. However, if you read the title of today's show, America Redefined by Tyrant Obama.
Well, everybody knows what's been going on this week. What I want to accomplish in this episode is to be able to teach everybody, maybe, I guess that's the proper word to use for it, how they can oppose the Supreme Court ruling, particularly the marriage one, but there's also the Obamacare one. But the marriage one, I find that regardless of where you should stand on it, if you really truly knew everything you're supposed to know about it, you feel like, well, I can't oppose it because then I just flat out look like a bigot. How do I have to go along with it, because anything other than going along with it is clearly bigotry.
Well, if you want to get this started right, I've got a sound clip from Rush, because a viewer called in, or maybe sent him an email and said, "Rush, during this whole debate about marriage, I don't know what your stance is on it."
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
And I could assume what his stance is. I know where he'd come from.
I can tell you, you will find out in this episode where I stand on it. And to be perfectly honest with you, not to be kind of big-headed or anything like that, but if you understand and approve of what happened back in the 1700s in America that led to the freedom that humanity has never had, or hasn't had since, I don't even know when, before recorded history, from tyrants and people that just
even recorded history on stone, chiseled in caves and paintings in caves. No one has ever had the luxury, the freedom, the success, the greatest nation humanity has ever witnessed was that America.
Yeah, and if you approve of what they did, and there's a lot of people that disapprove because of they were told to disapprove of it because of the improper education miseducation that they're receiving from public education,
right? Schools,
if you will,
government, right? Government education,
yeah, and
government re-education camps.
Yeah, and we have a big uphill battle here to correct all the lies and everything like that in the education system.
It's insanity. So let me play this clip by Rush real quick, and it'll kind of get us started off. But folks, when you listen to Rush, and I don't know if you're one of those guys, I just can't listen to him. And maybe you've never listened to him before, but maybe you ought to at least give it a try. This sound clip is the essence of Rush. This is what, I guess gave inspiration to all of us guys out there that take to the airwaves to get the information out. So this is Rush's take on marriage.
And as usual, what we're talking about, again, with the left is the language. The language game. The left really excels at changing the language to benefit them politically. And they do it in such a way that a lot of people on our side have no idea what's happened until it is too late and the issue is already lost, which this issue is. This issue is lost. I don't care what the Supreme Court does. this is now inevitable. And it's inevitable because we lost the language on this. I maintain to you that we lost the issue when we started allowing the word marriage to be bastardized and redefined by simply adding words to it. Because marriage is one thing.
There you go. I mean, that's what it is.
That's very similar to where I'm going with this. I have not heard that episode for some weird reason. Oh, I know why. My headphones went out last week. So I haven't heard like any talk radio all week. But normally I've heard all the episodes over the week. But it might be a refreshing change to have not heard any input from them, because then it makes me formulate my own opinions from scratch. And
right.
I go into this thought experiment mode, where I think, well, what does this all mean? And then I break it up into little tiny parts and look at each individual one and how they fit together, and then I came up with a conclusion or a solution or whatever. But yeah, he's going down the right path with the definition thing and losing the meanings of words and stuff like that. And we've talked many times on this show
absolutely, about
how it's the left's MO to make words mean whatever they want them to mean. And if it means something different than what the dictionary says, and it doesn't go along with their worldview, ideology, or narrative, they're going to do everything to attempt to change it. And they can do it with popular culture. They can be like, it's not cool to think of this word as meaning what it's supposed to mean.
And they'll also prosecute people in the...
Well, that's what the end goal is.
Right.
The end goal is to get rid of, I guess, the big, giant, overarching goal of the left is to completely replace the Constitution, or more generally, freedom in America, with full-blown Marxist communism.
Right. So they capitulate all the time. They say, "Oh, the rich are getting richer, and that we need to redistribute the wealth," and all these crazy notions and ideologies. When in reality, that's exactly what they're doing. They want all the power and all the money concentrated in one single elite group that is the dictatorship.
It's them.
Yeah, it's them.
The people that are pushing for this either A, are already in power or think that they're going to get it soon, or using this, what Brian just explained, as their vehicle to get there.
Right. So they couldn't tell you flat out. They couldn't say, "Hey, okay, folks, this is really going to hurt, but in the end, you're going to be better off because we're going to make the decisions for you. We'll have all your money, and then we'll pay you according to your needs."
They'll never say your. They'll never say your money. They'll say we'll have all the means of wealth, whether it be direct property or means of wealth, like as in manufacturing facilities or whatever that would create wealth. They need all of that.
Right, so they can make it fair to everyone underneath that.
The fair thing, that's just the lie.
Right. Oh, yeah. No. Everything I'm saying, they will not speak aloud.
Right. So you're saying what they're thinking.
Yes, okay. Absolutely.
Well, it's genius. I've got to give them so much credit. The way that they take all of your freedoms and power away from you and everybody else is by telling you that they're going to give you back your freedom and power. And the way it's amazing. It's amazing the way that works. It's genius.
Do you think they figured it out, or do you think they just stumbled across it?
Well, I mean, they've had 150 years. If you go all the way back to the Communist Manifesto, and actually you could go all the way back thousands of years if you go back to Plato's Republic and all that, and Utopia, and Leviathan. All those books are basically stories about a utopian mythical place that was dreamt up by the author as a place that could exist. And they're always the same. Well, today we would call it communism. They didn't call anything like that communism until the Communist Manifesto.
Right.
But, yeah, that's...
So it's been human nature to always wish or desire to go back to the Garden of Eden, if you will. And Because obviously that would be the perfect place. That would be utopia.
Well,
Since we're not there, though, the left can see, hey, these people they would love to have this Garden of Eden. So what we'll do is we'll tell them that's what we're driving the bus here.
Right.
We're going to drive you there.
And Christians know, if you listen to anything in church or pay attention or really try to figure out what the Bible means, Christians know that we lost the Garden of Eden.
Right.
And God will, he hasn't yet. Let us have it back. And you're not going to be able to make a Garden of Eden because only God could make the Garden of Eden. And if you try to do it yourself, you're going to fail miserably. And that's what communism is all about, is this failed belief that a Garden of Eden could be recreated.
Right. So they're preaching to non-Christians, people who maybe don't have a religion, or their religion is the Democrat Party, or their religion or atheism. So they're preaching to them, hey, these Christians over here are talking about they used to have a Garden of Eden and they don't have it anymore. I'll tell you what, we're going to go get it. We're going to make it here. Mm-hmm. And then we'll thumb in their eye. See, look, you just wished for it. We made it happen.
Yeah. And the thing is, they got that wrong if that's what they're saying, because
right.
I think that the Christians know that you don't wish for it, because why would you wish for something that you can't have? Instead, why not do what God's will is, which is to work for your food, work for your wealth, work for everything else, and provide for your family in that way. So a capitalist would say, well, if you want to be powerful and wealthy and all that, just work for it. And communists are like, I can't believe they're making you. They're enslaving you.
They're making
and
you
by
work hard.
Yeah, well, by they're saying capitalists, but this is all God's plan. I mean, capitalists are just using what we're allowed to do in order to make the best world possible.
If I sat here and taught you how to become wealthy, rich, with money beyond your wildest imagination, the amount of work and energy that requires, and the knowledge that requires, 99.9% of people will never, ever do.
You mean they wouldn't even get started because they would say, oh, that sounds too hard?
Well, the number one reason why small startup businesses fail, do you know what the number one reason why they fail?
Is because what?
They had a 9-to-5 job.
Okay.
And they decided, I'm going to get rich. I'm going to start my own company.
Okay.
And they attempted to either work 9 to 5.
Oh, I've seen that before.
Or they realized, oh my Lord, this is so much work. And it really is. It is like birthing a child.
And then once it's out,
it runs,
it's a beautiful thing.
18 years later.
Well, it could be a couple of hours later. The labor part is over. Now you're just caring for the child.
Right, and you have to care for that like it's a child.
But you're saying, in my analogy of the childbirth analogy would be that most people just die in child labor.
Right.
Because they're like, are you kidding me? I got to do this. But
can I flip the switch and get out of this? Yes, you can. Take the blue pill.
There you go. How do we get off on this tangent? Okay, so we're talking about some Supreme Court decisions here. And it's weird because it all happens so fast and it happens so wrong.
I was at work.
That I'm getting the two mixed up.
Yeah, we'll stick on one right now. We're going to talk about the marriage because that's pretty huge.
Well, that was the second one. So we're going to work backwards.
Yeah, we'll work backwards. Okay. And the only reason why is because the marriage issue that the Supreme Court had with marriage, the issue that the Supreme Court had with marriage is absolute insanity. Everybody that I know, it's making their head implode. Let me start it up. Let me ask you this. There's someone we know,
Okay.
my wife and I, and she was around when this all went down.
She was around what?
She was around us, the three of us. We're all
Okay.
talking.
Oh, okay.
And I mentioned to her, that this is going to affect everything in your entire life. Everything around you is going to affect something. Somehow it's going to be a major. And she looked right at me. She said, "Is she Christian? Takes your kids to church every Sunday?"
Okay,
she's
Christian, because you didn't. I'm
sorry.
like totally with a blank slate here. I'm like, okay, is this like a lesbian or what is it? I mean,
Christian, married, children.
Okay.
Your middle America type folks. And she looked at me. She said, "Yeah, well, it's not going to affect me at all."
right, and that's what a lot of people are saying. There are people who are.
So I walked away from that. How do you argue with that?
Well, you have to explain to them that there's problems with that decision that don't even have anything to do with gay marriage or gay people.
We thought that
straight people.
We thought that we were going to send our kids. We homeschool our kids now. We thought that maybe when they got to high school age, they'd want to go to high school, and we'd let that happen. Now, absolutely not.
Yeah, and Brian's going to have to explain that one to you guys. In fact, I had to think about why. What does that have anything to do with anything?
Okay,
Wait, before we go down that tangent.
Okay,
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Let me bookmark that real
Yeah,
quick.
bookmark that. Write it down.
You got that pen?
I
Where
brought
did
a
I put
pen
that
in
pen?
here.
I have.
Oh,
No, it's right in front of me.
oh, okay. So I need one. Where's that pen?
Here we could share, like we're sharing microphones.
Yes, we're right next to each other. We're allowed to do that now.
And we were joking so hardcore about this last week. Not about gay marriage, but we were joking about just the whole.
Oh, I know what it was. So we jokingly act like we're gay publicly, and every time people look and see, oh, really? We immediately respond with, well, we're allowed to do this now.
Right.
And the joke is that nothing changed from before the Supreme Court decision and after the Supreme Court decision with regards to us acting gay in public or not.
Right, because and I know as well, we all know where the lisp comes from.
It's from the teeth being close together every time a S comes up.
And the reason why we know is because it's been shoved in our face everywhere.
Oh, you're saying we got good at it by emulating people that we've seen in public.
Well, see, we were raised by the television,
Okay.
the tube, the boob tube.
The boob tube.
Do you remember that, folks?
Is that allowed on the air?
That might be FCC regulated.
We are going to get fined like you wouldn't believe. All right, so here's the thing. We went out into public, and of course, we brought up the gay marriage ruling to complete strangers. Honestly,
right.
And it seems like the overwhelming consensus is well. I think it's great that they're allowed to have equal rights that they didn't have before, and love wins. And
oh no, that's what Obama he tweeted #love wins.
Well, Twitter decided that we're going to make this the hashtag love wins is going to be so important
Epic.
that if you tag it on one of your tweets, they add a heart to it that's rainbow colored. Twitter does.
So
You don't even know it until it's posted, and you're like, "Whoa, where'd that heart come from?" Well, Twitter just programmed it in.
Wow.
But anyway, so
Wow, I had no idea.
So when you hear this, when you hear about, they have rights now that they didn't have before, it's like a big civil right milestone that we'll be talking about for the next 100 years. Remember back when that happened, back in 2015 with that landmark Supreme Court decision, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be a part of political discussion the way Roe v. Wade and Dred Scott and all these other decisions, landmark decisions over the course of history will be talked about for years and years. I don't know, what's the name of this decision anyway? The Bergleton or something like that. The actual case. The name of the case.
You caught me with my pants down.
Yeah, me too, because I don't know either. But anyway.
But that's legal
We'll
now.
hear
That's
about
legal
it.
now.
Yeah, we'll hear about it. So anyway, the problem is the more that this goes on and the less you learn about the actual details and facts of how this went down and what was the actual decision made, the more you realize that if I oppose this, the only thing I'm saying is that I oppose gay people being able to be together.
Right, and we don't.
And it sounds like you're a bigot when you say that.
But gay people have always been together. Nobody's ever saying they can't be together.
Well, I guess that what they would say is that you didn't approve of it before, or whether you approved of it or not, they didn't have a right to get married in so many states or something like that. But so I decided to think about what is it that I'm opposing here. And I mean, I'm not a bigot, and when I see two gay people that are happily a couple, I don't have a problem with that. And one of the biggest issues with this controversy is that gay people and people that support this kind of thing, the gay marriage, the Supreme Court decision, think that that they needed this in order for their relationship to be able to exist.
Right. Well, Justice Anthony Kennedy wrote that his decision was based on the fundamental right to marry and the equality that must be afforded gay Americans.
Okay, so here's my response to that. If you recognize a dictionary and logic,
okay,
those two things, can we start with let's go right to the basement and start looking at the foundation.
Okay.
Without any cracks in it, we have a definition of marriage.
No leaks.
And
it's waterproof.
We have simple, proper logic.
Correct.
All right, so let's bust out the dictionary. If marriage is between a man and a woman,
because that is the definition.
One man and one woman.
Correct. You got to make that very clear.
And by man, I mean human.
Human man. Human, not
woman,
a male animal of sorts, a human man.
And you could go further and say that they must not be any more closely related than first cousins, second cousins, whatever.
And the reason why that stipulation was put in there is because they quickly found out in Great Britain that royalty teeth started to really.
Oh, was that how their teeth are so bad?
Because they're inbred. They're so closely related.
It's funny because if you look at British people and Appalachians, there's similarity in the dental structure.
Oh, wow. Did you
know
know that? No, I did not
just
know
look
that.
at them.
This is true. This is a fact.
I mean, if you get them to smile, it's pretty evident.
So when you closely marry in the family, problems arise.
Okay. So now we have that foundation. We have a definition, and now let's start to apply logic. A man and a man who decide that they want to be a couple.
They want to be together.
Okay, forget the couple. Let's take a man who just isn't attracted to women.
Okay.
And consequently, or just maybe there's something going on in the way his brain's made up, or the way God created him, if you will. He just happens to be attracted physically, sexually, to other men.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and concede that there's people out there who say that, well, the gayness is a decision. You decide to be attracted to a woman, decide to be attracted to a man. I actually side with the gay community on this, that you could be born attracted, or something happens during puberty or whatever, and all of a sudden you're just like physically attracted to the wrong sex. And by wrong, I mean, sex is for procreating.
Right.
And if you're attracted to the wrong sex, then your procreation won't really produce much.
Now, Franklin Graham, Billy Graham's son, who's a preacher, I've got some sound clips on him, but his whole notion of gayness, is that what we're calling it?
I
Gayness?
just threw that out there, trying to be grammatically correct.
Because that's what. Because I mean, it's all that LBGT.
Well, I'm just.
XLZ,
I don't want to be complicated.
He says that this is a sin, and nothing more than just a sin. And
by sin, you're implying that you decided to do that.
Correct.
Okay, so that's where that would come from. But I don't need that. I'm going to go ahead and side on, just for argument's sake. I'm going to side with them and say, all right, you were born that way.
All right, cool.
We have a definition. We're going by logic. We're applying that. And the question is, do you have a right to get married?
You do.
Yes.
You do have that right.
Yes. And
you have the right. I have the right. We all have the right.
Everybody listening right now is probably like, whoa, no. They did not have the right. Oh, yes, they did have the right.
And if you listen to this show regularly, you'll know where we're going.
A man, we're talking definitions of marriage.
Correct.
There is nothing that will prevent him from being able to marry a woman, whether he's gay or not.
How dare you? How dare you insult him?
So he's grossed out by the idea of marrying the opposite sex.
Let me tell you, when I lived in L.A., and I wrote this on Jennifer Burke, who is a writer, Tea Party member. Definitely follow her on Facebook. She is incredible. And I wrote this on one of her posts about this. She told a story about a friend of hers coming out to her as being gay. It was a man.
Okay.
And she was very upset about that and told him, hey, that's cool. That's your bag, baby. You know, whatever. You're still my friend.
Okay.
I'm really upset about it, and I don't like that. But you're my friend. I'll work with it. I'll deal with it, and we'll just move on. But apparently he didn't have the same feelings, and they're no longer friends because of him and not her.
Because he was insulted that she had a problem with it.
Correct. In L.A., when I lived there, you could say gay bar or straight bar, but in L.A., they are all mixed. They're all...
I could see that.
Whatever.
See that. Right.
You know, so it's all just a big melting pot of every bar. I have been in many different restaurants, many different bars, many different conversations. I've had gay friends, mostly male. I don't think I can remember a female lesbian blowing up on me, but I have had many gay male friends exploding on me with anger because I was straight and I was in that bar.
They were intolerant of the fact that you were attracted to the opposite sex.
You would not believe.
And you know
all the hate.
I didn't experience
it was
personally.
awful. It was unbelievable.
I didn't experience that personally ever, but I could certainly imagine.
I would say back to them, I'd say, "Are you kidding me? I ain't got a problem with you. Of all people, you should be the one that would be most accepting of me."
Right, because you don't want to be a hypocrite by calling other people bigots and intolerant, and then you do it just as bad or worse. Yeah. That's amazing.
And I'd had, this was way back. Oh, man, this is back in the early 2000s. When I had, gay friends approach me and say, hey, there's a gay marriage ballot coming up.
Oh, yeah. Was that during the 2004 presidential election?
It might have very well been.
Because that was the big thing that Karl Rove did that was supposed to be so brilliant.
Oh, jeez. And they kept saying to me, we need your support, And,
was that Prop 8 or something crazy
like
that?
And it was shot down. In the state of California, Prop 8 was unbelievably, embarrassingly shot down. And then the Supreme Court in California, the Ninth Circus Court of Appeals.
Okay, all right.
Said, you know what? We know the majority of people voted for this to go away.
But we are the rulers.
And we believe that the people are wrong. And they removed it. They said, no, I'm sorry. You can't vote marriage to be between one man and one woman. You can't do that.
You can't do that.
You can't put that on the ballot.
You're denying people rights. So that brings me to the second portion of our logic foundation.
Okay.
I want to build this upon just the basic ground floor basement foundation.
We don't want to muddy the waters here.
Yeah. Just keep it really simple. So I started thinking about what is it about marriage that gay people are so fixated on, and what is it? Why is it so important that they be allowed to get married?
And why is it such a big deal when less than 2% of the population claims to be gay, lesbian, transgendered?
Yeah, and I don't even know what the actual statistic is, but it's amazing how visible and audible
it is
a tiny fraction of a population is.
You would think.
I mean, there are rainbow flags everywhere, and I'm not talking about on public streets. I mean, sticking out of the flagpoles of residential homes and stuff everywhere.
You would think that the population in America, half were gay.
Well, I would think.
You would think because of the media.
It seemed to
and
me
the exposure.
Like 20%, I would say. That'd be 1 out of 5.
Right.
That's what it seems like to me.
Okay.
But you're saying it's about 10% of that. I'm thinking 1 out of 5. You're saying the actual statistic
maybe
is
1 out of
50.
3. I feel like what I've been exposed to, all the media, all the information, all the internet, I feel like it's at least a bare minimum 1 out of 3.
Well, it's possible
30, so
that if you're on the
33%.
internet and you're just going page by page, just totally randomly,
Right.
and you notice the amount of pro-gay content or whatever, to the point where you're like, wow, I guess 1 out of every 3 people is gay. It very well could be that out of that 2% of the entire population that is gay, maybe 2/3 of the entire population of people online are straight, and 1/3
because it is
because they're all on the internet, and not very
Right.
many straight people are on the internet.
well, there's a lot.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Hey, there are a lot of older folks that don't hang out on the internet like these young kids do.
Oh, okay. So,
absolutely. I would agree with that 100%. I would agree with that.
So, all right. So that being said, I asked myself, well, what is marriage? What is marriage? And if you listen to Glenn Beck, because he's brought this up many times over the years, that his philosophy or idea that he supports and all of his other producers support is, well, if marriage is a religious institution, then why don't we just take it out of government completely, out of tax forms, not even make it a question whether you're married or not, and just have all civil unions be legally just civil unions, and then leave the word marriage for religious groups such as Christianity, or it could be even Islam or Judaism or whatever, and just let them handle it in the church. And then for legal purposes, just say, look, if you need a tax break, we'll just give it to you if you have dependents. And if you register dependents, then there's where your tax break will be. So you could be a gay couple, adopt 2 kids, have one of them be a head of household, and he can claim 3 people as dependents. The other 3 will then file as dependents. And so we don't even need the word marriage in all this crap.
Why don't we give everybody a tax break or a break from tax and make it 5% across the board?
This is what we call at Smith Radio a tangent, because that would be a whole other discussion. So.
I had a thought this weekend thinking about this, and I'm just wondering, because it seems like Christians are under assault.
Oh, definitely.
Across the globe. And by America being founded on Christian Judeo beliefs, that's originally what America was founded on. That's why the Pilgrims originally came to this country to practice their Christian beliefs.
And when you hear Judeo-Christian, what that really means is the Old and New Testament, which would be, it just so happens, mostly Christian and a good chunk of
Jews.
that. Yeah, Jews.
Jews,
right. And, I mean, pretty much that's it. And that's pretty much where everything was founded on. And then other religions would be, in the scientific world, that would be considered trace elements.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Okay.
So we as Christians have founded this country, and in 230 years, well, let's back up to 25 years ago. So 215 years into it, 25 years ago.
Right.
we were the greatest superpower in the world. We didn't destroy communism, but we watched as communism crumbled under the false pretense that it was the best government to have.
And we did have an indirect role to play in its collapse.
Absolutely.
Basically, we challenged them economically. We
Right.
said, all right, you want to go? Let's go.
Head-to-head, toe-to-toe, gloves are off. America won. Capitalism won. Christians won. We have the freedom here to practice Christianity, if we will.
Oh, by the way, residents of the Soviet Union won. They won. I mean, they didn't have to live under communism anymore.
Correct. So that is absolutely correct. So my whole thought, that experiment that I was doing with myself, is that the outsiders, the communists, the losers, the ones that hate, the ones that are angry, the ones that come to this country to change this country, said to themselves, oh, wow, how can we destroy everything to do with Christianity? Okay, let's attack it one by one. Here's how we start. We're going to allow abortions to be legal, because that will really send Christians through the roof. And two, we're going to start redefining terminologies that Christians use so that the opposite of a Christian, an anti-Christian, or somebody who's the opposite beliefs of a Christian, which we believe marriage is between one man and one woman, they're going to take that ideology, that terminology, they're going to steal it from us, and they're going to change it. And they're really going to inflame us. And then the gay community is going to steal the Christian symbol, the ideology of a rainbow, the promise that God will never flood the earth again. They're going to steal that. They're going to use that as their personal symbol as to their gayness. And
that's interesting.
and
I never really realized about the rainbow thing, that you forget that it's a Christian symbol. That was the whole thing. Is that's what was displayed after the was it 40 days of rain? Yeah,
no one knew.
And that was God's promise that He'll never flood the earth again.
Right, that's in the Bible. And a lot of times, I mean, you'll see the rainbow, the gay symbol of the rainbow presented in an arch, like you would see a rainbow
in the sky, right?
However, they're starting to fade away from that, because there's a lot of Christian beliefs where that shape of that rainbow is. You know, in the pictures of our school books growing up at church, you would see that picture of the rainbow. So they're getting away from that, and they're just making it a solid block with rainbow colors. It's just a square.
Or like a flag.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right, like a square flag with rainbow colors. So they're morphing and transitioning, saying, no, we don't have anything to do with Christianity, but yeah, we did steal this whole notion that you guys had because we liked it. And marriage? Oh, you think you own marriage? I'll tell you what.
Take it.
We're going to the government on this one.
Yeah.
And we're going to take that too.
And I just cannot believe how they came about their decision. I mean, the double whammy of SCOTUS care and the Supreme Court ruling on the gay marriage.
Right.
That 1-2 punch has made me completely lose so much faith in our Supreme Court justices that it actually has shaken my
to the core, a foundation, my beliefs of what is real, what is justice, what is right.
It makes me think back at what the founders of America were thinking when they were drawing up the Constitution, and how proud they were of it, and how confident they were that their checks and balances was going to be untouchable. And what they wanted and believed in a Constitution of America has been shown to be a failure this week because of, 5 out of 9 justices, when they can come together and just throw everything that is right and logical and legal out the window, then the Constitution is irrelevant now.
Mark this in your calendar. And I mean, it's a very sad week that we've just left. But mark it in your calendar. 2015, the last week of June, 2015 was the week that redefined and changed America forever. It will never, ever go back.
Well, and it's funny that you say that because we seem to be hitting these milestones of the day that changed America forever more and more and more. It's almost like we're sliding down the slippery slope. We have no more footholds and handholds left, and we're just accelerating down the slippery slope into I don't know where do we
the abyss.
What do we hit? What do we hit at the end of this thing?
I don't know, but Kennedy also wrote in his dissent, the Supreme Court justice, which is just these people are atrocious. It blows my mind that 9 human beings could be in charge of or responsible for their decisions, responsible for 320 million.
Well, I made a prediction.
Hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So he said, under the Constitution, same-sex couples seek in marriage the same legal treatment as opposite-sex couples, and it would disparage their choices and diminish their personhood to deny them this right. This is supposed to be an educated man.
I don't know. It's like he's just throwing words out there. I mean,
This is supposed to be one of the highest educated individuals. Oh, and by the way, the Supreme Court justices, none of them are elected. They're all appointed. So how the founders got that wrong, I don't know.
Just remember that they did have the right to get married.
Right. Of course they did.
To an opposite sex person.
And he's saying right here, and it would disparage their choices and diminish their personhood.
Okay. So here we go.
To deny them this right.
Right. Just remember, marriage is a religious institution. And to say that they have the right to get married is saying that a church should not deny same-sex couples from getting married, even though it completely violates their belief and would also, what would you call it when a gay couple shows up at a Catholic church and says, we want to get married here, and they say no, and when they say why, they say, because we only marry opposite-sex people here.
Oh, we're going down that road.
Oh, absolutely.
It is going to be a rough and rocky show, folks.
And so the dissent on the Supreme Court is that, well, you're saying that we're affording rights to same-sex couples, which, by the way, rights, we're just throwing words out there at this point.
Right.
I mean, we're just very loose definitions of words here when you say that we're affording same-sex couples rights, but you're doing so by taking away from the First Amendment, flat out.
Right.
That's the big problem here. And all these people that we saw this weekend at the bars and at the parties and the festivals and all that were in discussions about how great and monumental and bring a tear to my eye and let's wave the flag. It's such a great day for the gay community and for everybody, and love wins. You know, the Constitution took a big hit, a really big hit, probably one of the biggest hits that I've seen in my lifetime. I mean, when else have we had such a huge hit? I know when that bakery was refusing to cater, or was it a pizza place?
Right.
Refusing to cater to a gay wedding. And by pretty much sending them out of business by refusing to do it, by saying, well, you can't refuse them to do it because that's discrimination, and we're not going to allow you to discriminate. I mean, can't we get to a point where in order to have freedom of speech, it should be a given that you have the right to insult people, you have the right to offend people, and you have a right to dissent, and you have a right to disagree, and that's that. That's the only way you can have the freedom of speech. And by the way, without the freedom of speech, you don't have freedom, and that's just a flat out fact.
Right. Absolutely. It goes on. I know Roberts invoked the Constitution when he was writing. Oh, I lost my place. Sorry about the folks. But Scalia.
Yeah.
Scalia said that this is.
He's going on it.
He's losing it. He said this is the downfall. This is a threat to our very democracy. That's what he said.
Oh yes, of course, and it certainly is, because now we're no longer. Oh, by the way, I should point this out. As I was doing my research for this show, and this is just hours ago, I'm reading all of the related articles everywhere on the internet, and at the end of the articles, almost all of them have a comment section. And this is the good news, folks. There is almost a universal
outrage.
Some of them they're very subdued. Actually, they're not like oh, this is crazy. There are people writing. You know how comment sections are.
Oh, they are brutal.
It's like the armpit of the internet, right? I'm telling you right now, I saw some of the best articles I've ever read in my life in comment sections, Yahoo comment sections.
Well, that's
really awesome.
Apparently, it sounds like conservative Christians may be taken to the internet.
I mean, there were people that are like, "Hey, I don't have any problem with gays getting together or being in relationships or whatever," and then they give this big dissertation that's just beautifully written, and I mean, it's amazing. I even wanted to read one on the air, and it's just really well done stuff. But there's nobody on there saying, "Yeah, down with the religious right," and there was even a socialist on there that I didn't know was a socialist at first, and he wrote this. It was the best article I wrote, and I didn't know he was a socialist till almost the end of his entire comment, where he pointed out the middle class and 20% of the wealth, or 90% of the wealth is with the top 1%, and he went into that, and that's when I realized, oh, this guy's a socialist. But everything he wrote about regarding what the Supreme Court did this week was just great. So
I found my place.
Oh, good.
Justice Kennedy invoked the Constitution. However, Roberts, from the very first time, for the very first time in his tenure, I think he's been a justice for about 10 years now, he disagreed with this decision and read part of his dissent from the bench, which he's never done before. And this is what he said from the bench. He said, "If you are among the Americans of whatever sexual orientation who favor expanding same-sex marriage, by all means celebrate today's decision. Celebrate the achievement of a desired goal. Celebrate the opportunity for a new expression of commitment to a partner. Celebrate the availability of new benefits, but do not celebrate the Constitution. It has nothing to do with it." It's got nothing to do with it. It's Scalia. The last thing Scalia said is that this robs citizens of the freedom to govern themselves.
And we've kind of lost that little bits at a time, but this is a big chunk.
Yes. So we no longer have the freedom to govern ourselves. We have to have the government stepping in, taking all measures to make what they feel everything to be free, to be equal, to be even, to be. I mean, it feels like we're in kindergarten, and the government is the teacher or the principal trying to crack down.
Kindergarten. That's the best analogy, because kindergarten is that grade where the teacher is real nice, but she has to dictate everything because they're just so dependent on everything. They don't do a lot of critical thought. They don't make decisions. They're extremely obedient.
Right.
5-year-olds are probably the most obedient people on earth because they're smart enough to take dictation.
Right.
But they're not smart enough to do very much original actions on their own.
Right.
And so that's a perfect analogy.
So I've also I got one last sound clip of Rush, and this is his explanation of what the left has done throughout the years leading all the way up till this.
The best thing that marriage had going for it was basically what they teach you the first day in law school. If you hang on a horse a sign that says cow, it does not make it a cow. Although today it might. And that's where we are. 5 plus 5 could equal 11 if it works for the Democrats. And a cow could be a horse if it works for the Democrats.
You know, that's perfect. I'm a math genius. I humbly say math genius.
5 plus 5 does not equal 11?
No, we're talking about logic. The foundation of math is logic.
Right.
And if you need it to be 11, and we're dealing with 5 plus 5, and they can make that happen, that's a problem. If they need 11,
right,
and you only have 5 and 5, and they need 11.
So I've got 10, and they need 11. So what do? We don't add one more to it.
Well, you get a king or dictator or a Supreme Court justice to say,
Kennedy.
well, you know, it is we are taking away from the happiness of people by saying that the answer to this math question is 10. In order to make it so that everybody is happy and gets the rights that they deserve, we need this to be 11. And so from this day forward, 5 plus 5 equals 11.
We need to start the movement. We need to start the movement. That is
my Supreme Court ruling.
We need the Supreme Court to weigh in on this. We need to make a movement.
I'm suing all math departments worldwide.
Oh, yeah. Whatever country you're in, it doesn't matter. You're not safe now.
Oh, my goodness.
5
and
plus
so
5 will
hanging
be 11.
a sign on a horse that says cow, if legally, and by legally I mean a dictator or a Congress writes a law or a SCOTUS says, well, I know that Congress wrote that this is a horse, but clearly we need this to be a cow. And so from this day forward, that's literally what the Supreme Court did this week.
Right, said we need a cow.
Yeah, we need a cow, and so we're going to go ahead and do that.
Right.
And they did it in 2 different landmark rulings this week.
Right. It's something that just came to thought. Back in the day, there was these movies called Faces of Death.
Oh, yeah. Documentaries, if you will.
Banned in 50 countries.
And that is the selling point,
by the way. Yes. So we had to get it. But it just brought to my mind, there was one example that had happened. These college kids graduated from college, and one of the kids was having his birthday at the same time, so they had a big giant party, and they put a bungee cord off the top of the building and bungee jumped to the bottom. And so it was the birthday boy, so he was going to go first.
Okay.
Bungee jumped, and it never caught, and he went all the way into the ground.
It was too long.
Right. Ooh. And so they started getting into why was it too long? Well, with the technicalities of it, let's talk about numbers.
Okay.
Well, if you have a 20-story building that has 20 floors, it's 20 stories high, it's got 20 floors. Why would it have 19?
Why would it?
Right.
Well,
if it had 20 floors, why would it have only 19? Started getting into the numbers of it all. Well, apparently the builder of that building was superstitious.
Okay.
There is no 13th floor.
That's actually typical. There's a lot of buildings out there.
In my high school, there was no room 13.
Oh, wow. Really?
At Oak Hills, there's no room 13. It goes directly from 11 to 12. No, 13.
You know, most places go from 11 to 12.
And skip 13.
Okay. So they go from 12 to 14.
Yeah, but that was the whole. I mean, you see what happens when you start to mess with numbers. If you wait,
you're blaming the builder for that kid's death.
Yes.
Oh my God.
No, I'm not blaming the builder, but
obviously they should have counted.
Sure, of course. I mean, they should have done a little bit more preparation, but I'm throwing that out there because that strikes me as when you start messing with numbers and the norm, the basis, the foundation of the norm of our life, if you start messing with that, everybody takes, like, I'm a machinist, and I operate, I set up, and I run machines. And we keep everything absolutely the same all the time. Because then we all know the same thing, and we all have the same pattern.
Sounds like communism.
You have to be an absolutist in the machine world.
Obsessive compulsive.
You will find the majority of obsessive compulsives
in the
machine shop.
Okay,
The best are the most extreme hand washers.
Okay. They have the Purell on their persons at all times.
So one time, a young guy that was working, new to the machine shop world, started to learn all the absolutes and trusted the absolutes. Okay. See, that's something we don't do. We assume the absolutes are always absolute, but we never trust it.
Oh, it reminds me of my wife. When we first...
Wow.
So
hold on.
Oh, I have a story.
I'm not finished with this one.
Go ahead.
So he took a tool that was in a holder, and he looked at the bolts that hold the tool in. He just looked at it. He's like, looks a little odd. They don't look all the way flush, but... Well, who would leave a tool laying around in a holder and it wasn't tight? Put it in the machine, hit go, and the coolant came through it and shot the tool out at 100 mile an hour at the part. Ruined it.
Oh, no.
Because he trusted absolutes, but didn't question it. You've got to always just double check. So when you start messing with the norm of absolutes, you're going to have problems. You are going to have problems, without a doubt. And that goes back to the numbers. That goes back to the foundation. That goes back to everything we have set up in our society. We drive on the right side of the road, which is also the correct side of the road for those of you in England. If you had a city in America that drove on the left...
Just one city.
One city.
Well, it's like when the channel that goes from France to England.
How do you change?
Why? They might twist? I don't know. They got to spiral around each other.
Because France drives on the left and...
France is on the right.
Right.
And England's on the left.
Dude.
I think they spiral. I mean, I'm just guessing.
It would have to.
I mean, where would the change happen? Somewhere there's a spiral effect.
Well, if you want change, I know somebody who can give you change. So what about your wife?
So when we first got, I guess it was first married, and we were living together, and of course there's chores to do.
Right.
We got a whole house to clean.
Right.
So I said, well, let's team up and get this thing cleaned up. And she was like, well, why don't you just go somewhere? And I'm like, whoa, what? I can clean, I can help. And she was like, well, it's just not going to work. I'm like, well, what do you mean? She was like, I'm just kind of weird when it comes to cleaning. It doesn't matter if you clean it and how well you clean it. Because if I didn't clean it, in my mind, it's not clean. And I'm going to have to go over it. Even it could be completely spotless. And because she didn't clean it, she's going to go over it again.
I saw her apartment before you guys were married.
Oh, yeah. It was pretty spotless.
Wow.
Yeah. Any dirt that you see now in the house.
It's your fault.
It's either me or my daughter.
Right.
So
that's what kids do.
And my daughter. Oh, wait.
Whoa.
I just busted myself. So anyway. So I could see that in the machine world where you got a part that's supposed to be tightened down. Right. And you look at it and you say, well, it looks installed.
Well, not only does it look installed, but the guy who did it left a note saying, I did it.
Well, are you kidding me?
Well, you never know.
Well, that even adds to...
Do you well, we don't... Nobody left a note for that kid, but there have been times where people will leave notes.
And say, I did this properly.
You don't trust that.
You double check.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Check once, cut twice. I mean,
Wait,
whoa.
Cut and then measure it.
So that's how our administration works.
Yeah.
They start cutting
You have to pass it in order to know what's
in it.
That's exactly
Oh,
what it
my
is.
Goodness.
Pass once, read twice afterwards.
All y'all.
Oh, man. So,
Are we? That was our.
No, well-
it's our one.
I was going to finish up my logical presentation, and I promised everybody you're going to want to, if you oppose the SCOTUS ruling on the gay marriage and not look like a bigot, what you have to do is say, what is marriage? Make somebody answer that. What is marriage? If they're not going to go down the religious institution route, then they have to say what it is. And I think we all can agree that all marriage is, it's a word, just like any other word in the English language. It's sounds that come out of our mouth that we assign a meaning to.
Right.
All right. And what a gay person would say the definition of a marriage is, and I think we can all agree with this, it's a lifelong monogamous relationship between two people.
Right.
Can we all agree on that?
Absolutely. Just real quick, the stuff I had on Franklin Graham, he was interviewed by Todd Starnes, who's an awesome reporter, does a lot on Fox News, on Facebook. Look him up. He's a real good guy. But anyway, in the interview, Franklin Graham said, court did not define marriage and cannot redefine it.
Oh, there you go. I mean, that's a good point.
Right.
But I'm not talking about – I don't agree that the sole definition of marriage is a lifelong monogamous relationship between two people or more than one person if you want to get into the polygamy aspect of it. But that's what a gay person would have to agree with me on. If they're not going to say, well, it's a religious institution and we need to end that because we don't like religion. If they're not going to go down that road – then they have to go down the only other road left, which is that it's a lifelong monogamous relationship. Now, that being said, the word marriage is just a word. It's a sound that comes out of our mouth. There has never been a law or any kind of an institution in America that says that two gay same-sex people cannot engage in a lifelong monogamous relationship. So what right did you gain here?
Not only that, but if anybody thinks for one split second that logic individuals like us would deny a gay man and his gay partner the inheritance of each other's stuff, not allowed to go see a dude in the hospital on the deathbed.
Well, how's that possible?
Not be able to help make those decisions. Like when I call the doctor or the hospital now, if my wife, they ask a question, can we share this with your husband?
Okay.
So and if she says no, they can't talk to me.
Well, there you go. Well, let me ask you this. What if you're at the hospital and maybe there's a contract of some sort between you and I? Two cousins, same sex. We didn't consummate the relationship, but
because we're not out of the closet yet.
Okay,
right.
So Brian's on his deathbed, right. And let's say your whole family is just not in the picture for whatever reason. It's just you and me.
Okay, so everybody got wiped out in a tornado,
something like that, and
we have no surviving family.
And now you're unconscious at the hospital. However, you wrote on a contract, a piece of paper, whatever, notarized that if you were ever in this condition, that things can be left to me, decisions can be left to me. Your cousin, right. Carrie,
right.
can make X, Y, and D. I can come and visit you.
Correct. Okay.
Will somebody say, well, I know this paper's been written, Carrie. I'm presenting this paper.
There's a contractual agreement between the two of you.
Yeah, I show up at the hospital. I'm like, this is a contract that Brian and I signed together. Can I come and visit him? Would they say, well, I know you got that paper, but no?
They're claiming that they're denied access.
Even with those kind of contracts?
They're claiming they're denied access.
Well, that could be something. Why can't we just focus on that?
Okay, and I'm sure that could be easily solved
Yeah.
with a pen and a cell phone.
Oh,
Obama
right.
could have straightened this all
That'd be
out.
an executive order right there.
Oh,
So an argument can be made just by this conversation right now that what we just mentioned here, you can definitely go down the rabbit hole and say that they're just doing this to attack Christianity.
And if you want to settle the monetary things, the worldly possessions, if you want to crush that with a hammer and a heartbeat, set up a corporation and have all your stuff owned by the corporation.
If
and
you have a will.
You are the only two people that are part of that corporation that can make decisions of all that stuff. Not only do you avoid death tax, but you avoid any red tape. If you want to split up and get divorced, woo!
Well, what about...
It's going to be... It would be so... You would have to get lawyers involved if you want to dissolve a corporation and split the assets.
Okay.
So it would be like getting a divorce.
Okay, so there's similarities anyway.
Absolutely.
So it's literally just a hijacking of the word marriage or the institution.
Which goes back to my initial theory.
So that's what this is all about. And believe me, the media is going to do everything that they can in their articles, in the whatever you see on TV about it, the news shows, the Sunday talk shows or whatever that you see on TV, that to just make this out to be, well, God, how could you deny love? You're just a bigot. And that's but really what it boils down to is that this shouldn't even be a part of a Supreme Court decision. And by doing so, we've really taken a huge hack away at the First Amendment. And just remember, marriage is just a word. Married is a condition that two people could be in where they're together in a monogamous relationship. It's just a condition.
It's a mental condition.
It is. Married is a condition that you could describe two people being together in a lifelong monogamous relationship. Nobody is denying any two gay same-sex people from that.
Yeah, you can attempt that. And if it doesn't suit your mental state of mind, then go find something else.
He said married is a mental disorder. Wait, what? No.
So I got this sound clip. Todd Starnes said to Franklin Graham, who's Billy Graham's son, said to him, there's a lot of pastors out there that are calling upon Christians to prepare for civil disobedience.
Oh, Huckabee. Huckabee said this.
Huckabee was part of that circle. There were other pastors saying it, but Huckabee stepped out and said...
you have to... There's going to be civil disobedience when you start abridging the First Amendment.
Right. So he said to Graham, he said, hey, I want to get your take on this. What do you think about what... oh, come on,
Huckabee?
Mr. Producer. Cue up 1D. Okay. I want to get your take on civil disobedience. And here's what Graham said.
Well, first of all, I think we have to wait and see what the ruling is and how it's going to be interpreted. If pastors are going to be forced to provide marriage services for gay couples, I'm not going to do it because I would be partaking in a sin against God. So I just can't do that. Do I wish ill to gay couples? No, I don't. But I want them to know the truth, that they are living a sinful life and a sinful relationship, and God is going to judge sin one day. And the Bible says that sinners will be separated from Him in a place the Bible calls hell. And I love gay couples enough to warn them that God is going to judge one day, and I want them to repent and to believe on the name of the Lord Jesus Christ so that they'll be saved.
Now, if you're a Christian, you believe that and you agree with that, but to say that to a gay couple is not helping. It's not helping the dissent against stuff like Supreme Court justices ignoring the law, taking away from the First Amendment. We're not going to get the First Amendment back by telling everybody that God's going to judge them one day.
But it is true. He will judge you one day.
Yeah, but we're not going to get the First Amendment back. Like, oh, you know what? you can have your First Amendment back because I don't want to burn in hell.
Right.
What is that? That's not going to work. But no, I agree that what he's saying is true and accurate,
Absolutely.
but this is not helping.
No, it's not. I think it's like throwing, I'd say throwing gasoline, but possibly throwing rocket fuel.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people
on the embers.
There's a lot of people that we know that listen to this show that's like right on with the soundbite that you just said.
And I'm right on with him too. However, right now at this point in time, there's going to be a lot of civil disobedience. There should be.
There should be, but not for what some people may think the reason is.
Right. Well, they're going to be because pastors of churches, because this is what the gay community is going to do. They are going to go out viciously.
They're going to put an end to the church. They're going to put an end to Christianity with this.
They're going to remove churches from all of America.
They now have the ammunition
to do it.
And the tool needed to end all of Christianity. Yeah. Well, I shouldn't say all of Christianity. They could possibly end up with a Christianity that is completely embracing of homosexuality.
Well, no. They'll remove the churches that we have. They'll first go after the mega churches and say, if you don't marry us, we will own your church.
What if they do a rope-a-dope and say, bring it on. We'll marry you right here. They could do the rope-a-dope.
They could do a rope-a-dope, but I don't know how they'd hold on to their congregation.
That's true. But no, let's just say...
But so they're going to start at the mega churches, start suing,
work
their way all the way down to the little schoolhouse down the street out in Oklahoma, Walla Walla, Washington, wherever. And that little schoolhouse, who has a maximum occupancy of 10, will because they won't marry a man and a man. They won't do that. They will be removed as well as a building. 501c3s may be revoked. Nonprofit status will be revoked from churches by the IRS. Financials, all kinds of stuff. But what you're going to have Christians doing is they're actually going to get tighter together.
This is going to backfire on the left and the gay community. Whatever acceptance that they were going towards, and that's the whole thing. If it's just about acceptance, this was actually a long-term hit on them.
Right.
This was. There's going to be too much of a backlash.
Right. Well, and my whole thing is that a church building is a convenient way for Christians to meet up and decide if I'm in line with all my beliefs are in line with the folks that come here. That's how we decide what church we went to.
Yeah.
They got 70 children under the age of 10. All the parents are around our age and in their early 30s, mid 30s. Tons and tons of like-minded individuals that came like the millennials, but their whole idea is we've got a coffee shop and we've got donuts. Anybody come in? You came there one time and you said, this is awesome because for anybody off the street, you could walk in
and understand what they're talking about
and pick it up. It's Church 101, if you will.
Yeah.
They've kept it extremely simple. You can come in flip-flops, shorts. Nobody judges you, and it's a real open atmosphere. That's why we chose that. It's convenient, and we know that. If they remove that church from that site or bankrupt the church from that site, because...
You're making a leap here. How would that happen?
Because they won't marry gay. A man
and then that leads to...
What? The lawsuit.
Okay. And that could bankrupt them just alone.
The 501c3,
they
bankruptcy
lose that
on
status.
That. And I'm telling you this because I know how much money they have. And it would be devastating.
Right. They can't. Well, they would have to get a pro bono lawyer, which very well could. You get a Christian
law firm. It's
a law firm or a young guy that's
but you're
pretty bright.
You're talking millions of dollars of work.
Oh my gosh! I mean,
to fight it,
it would have to be a pretty big law firm.
Okay, so say that the church loses and they either marry or remove.
Well, they wouldn't marry. I don't think.
No, because us as a congregation wouldn't be down with that. So the church is gone. no longer there, we would do exactly what we've been doing, which is meeting at people's houses.
Oh, we're going back to 1776.
Yes.
Which
we have this
leads
thing
to what? Which is, I was going to bring this up at the beginning. I made a prediction, and Huckabee.
So you say you want a revolution.
The prediction I made is that the Supreme Court, and this was immediately after the decision, the Supreme Court probably, most likely, planted the seeds of a future revolution, and probably violent, which is sad, but that it has to go down that way. But they've taken enough from people that it's going to end badly, and it may not be in our lifetime. We're talking about going down a road of no return that could be a long journey. It could be 50 years from now. But I think that the seeds of that future revolution...
Did you say a long journey, like 50 years?
Well, I mean,
that doesn't seem
how old are we going to be?
That doesn't seem 50.
In 50
we'll be
years.
alive still. Probably.
That's...
Probably. Be close. I mean, I wouldn't be
flip a coin.
I wouldn't be in fighting condition.
Oh, well, I mean, I may be able to hold up a musket.
as a cane.
As a cane.
So it's holding you up.
My walker is going to have dual Gatling guns on it. So anyway, no, I mean, yeah, I mean it's going to be bad. There's going to be some torches and pitchforks on the U.S. Capitol. I
know Christians have been very passive on a lot of things. And you see the Jews.
But it's not always like that.
Well, you see how the Jews were during Germany's reign with Hitler, how passive they were then. I mean, you're talking about American Christians. Americans who
go to NASCAR races, which did you hear about?
Right.
Are we going to talk about the Confederate flag?
Okay, hold on. I got one last thing on this.
Oh, okay. No, go ahead and finish your thought. I just wanted to point out the South Carolina Confederate flag and the.
Right. Jesse Jackson says that the Tea Party is the resurrection of the Confederacy.
Well, that's just a continuation of the very effective way that the left dealt with the Tea Party. Because remember, it was a exploding...
what changed the face of Congress.
Oh, yeah. So they were exploding. And remember, 500,000 people on the Washington Mall with Glenn Beck.
Right.
On the anniversary of Martin Luther King's speech, I Have a Dream speech. He was at the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, said, "Come on down, all Tea Party, this Tea Party thing's happening," and 500,000 people showed up.
Right.
And all of a sudden, within 6 months from then, the whole thing just disintegrated. And it happened because the left lied and said there were Tea Party people screaming the N-word at a black senator.
Which never happened. And that black senator...
spit on him.
Right. And...
Never happened.
No, it never happened. Not only did it never happen, but one of the people that were there were interviewed and said, "I was there." That never happened.
Nothing like that happened. So, what happened out of that is the left ran with the lie. They kept pushing it and say, "Look at these racist Tea Party people spitting on black people of power, senators, representatives." Spitting on them and calling them the N-word, none of which happened whatsoever. But it caused all these normal, everyday, grassroots people who could identify with the ideology of the Tea Party and the foundation of the Tea Party, which was lower taxes and all that kind of stuff, smaller government. And they freaked out and they said, whoa, I have to go to work every week.
Well, I want to go to work every week.
I can't be associated with a group where the majority of the population believes the lie that they're a bunch of racists that scream the N-word at black people and spit on them.
Right.
And the whole thing disintegrated, and I was like in awe. I was in awe at the masterful Alinsky esque
right, the
way
ability.
that the left.
Right.
I mean, this was a huge grassroots movement, and the left said, "Oh, we got this, and boom, snapped their fingers, and the whole thing was gone.
Because they played on the honesty, the innocence, if you will.
Yeah.
The honesty and the innocence of the average American.
Well, they knew that if we could bloody the nose of this grassroots movement of normal people
ASAP.
who've never been involved in politics, that don't know the dirtiness of it, if we can make it dirty, they are going to cower down, and they were dead right. They went away. That was the death of the Tea Party movement, and it was so effective that even Glenn Beck said, we need to change the name. I don't want to have nothing to do with this Tea Party anymore. And believe me, I've lost a lot. It wasn't just me.
I've lost.
No, this was back when he was on Fox, earning millions of dollars. He had a primetime show, and it eventually led to him getting fired and all that. And of course, that's not the way it was reported. But yeah, he got fired in a corrupt deal between MSNBC and Fox. It was a deal. You get rid of Keith Olbermann, and we'll get rid of Glenn Beck.
Yeah.
It's exactly what happened. They were like, whoa, this is getting a little crazy. What can we do about this? It was a backroom deal.
Yeah.
So
and
anyway,
we talked about that a while ago.
Yeah. So anyway, Glenn Beck to this day has nowhere near the power that he had back then. He was on Fox News on a primetime show. He had so many millions and millions of followers that would just tune in every day at 5 p.m. And when he went away, he did the internet thing. He's still pretty damn powerful, but it's nothing like it was. And he can never get the 500,000 people on the mall that he did, and mainly because he abandoned them.
Right.
He should have stood up. He should have said this. Failure number one was that he didn't anticipate that was going to happen. Because if he did, he could have warned everybody. He could have said, listen, everybody listening, this is what they're going to do to you.
And don't
fall for it.
Don't.
Stay strong. You hear people like Rush saying that now. Rush now tells people, you stay strong. There was a caller, was it last week, I guess, that called in. He was a young college kid. He said, I'm a conservative, but what could you tell me for advice on how to articulate conservatism to other people? And he said, you have to convince them with righteousness. You're on the side of the right. You have to know your positions, be able to articulate them, be able to knock theirs down, and be able to stand up for what you believe when they try to bloody your nose with the lies of the bigotry and the racism and all that kind of stuff. And so Rush is on it now, but Glenn Beck missing the boat there was a huge hit to the entire Tea Party. And I don't blame him for not anticipating that, but I do blame him for not sticking with it and all that.
Did you see what the White House did?
Yeah, so the White House is covered in the gay flag colors using landscape lighting. And how perfect is that? It's a completely white house. So they were able to use landscape lighting to completely turn the entire White House into a gay flag, the rainbow colors. So Huckabee comes out and he says, I don't have a problem with him doing that. He has the right to do it. He's the president. He can do what he wants. But when I become president, don't come back at me and say I can't have a giant nativity scene on the White House front lawn when I'm there.
Right.
What do you think of that?
I think that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing. Isn't this big outrage about separation of church and state? If anti-Christian atheism can be displayed at the White House through a gay flag, wouldn't that be similar? Wouldn't that be a violation of separation of church and state that they claim having a nativity scene on there would be? Or having the 10 Commandments?
They would explode.
But it's the same thing, isn't it? I mean, aren't we talking about the same thing here?
Chief Justice Roberts warns that churches will lose tax-exempt status with new gay marriage decision.
Well, maybe if Roberts
did I just say that?
Yeah, you just said right. Well,
30 minutes ago we just said that.
We need to be on a direct line with not only all the Supreme Court justices, but also the President of the United States and every single senator and congressman, because we can explain to them what they need to know, because they're obviously not smart enough to figure it out themselves. You know, Roberts can say all he wants about the fact that he was a dissenter in the gay marriage decision.
Right.
But he is the reason why the completely horrible, completely unconstitutional SCOTUS care is now going to be not only the law of the land now, but is prevented. He is the reason why a future president and a future Congress, for the most part, is going to be able to, or completely unable to overrule or change Obamacare. Or,
I know you keep saying
it.
Right, you keep saying SCOTUS care. And for those of you who don't know what SCOTUS is, it's the Supreme Court.
Yeah, it's an acronym.
Supreme Court of the United States. So it refers to the Supreme Court justices, and the fact that they took a massive leap of logic. What they did...
I don't even think it's a leap. I think they just were like, you know what, we're throwing logic out the window. But
okay,
yeah, what do you say?
I know it moves like a cow, but we need a horse.
Oh, it's opposite. It's a horse.
Right. No, it's a cow, and we need a horse.
Oh, they're going to put the sign horse on the cow.
Right.
And that's what he did.
Right. So...
Logic just went out the window.
Okay, so the whole lawsuit was about states that didn't set up their exchanges. How could the people living in that state get a subsidy?
So the original law was written because
that you couldn't.
Brian
get
and I
a
are going to have this conversation because I really don't 100% know the details of this Supreme Court decision.
Right. The original law was written that said every state must set up their own exchanges.
And if they didn't, then the people of that state won't be allowed to get their subsidy.
Correct.
And they thought that that was going to be the
nail in the coffin, the thing that shuts the whole
stick,
thing down.
The carrot.
For
they thought that this would force
legislators of those states
This would force the states to set up an exchange, because if not, if their people don't get their subsidies, they're going to be mad.
The way that Obamacare was written forbade the federal government from handing out subsidies to states that didn't have exchanges set up. Okay, so that was written in the law. The law is written. The federal government can't give money to states that don't have exchanges.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The Supreme Court justice said that they have to now.
Well, they have to.
So they rewrote law.
Yeah, so wasn't it Roberts?
Yeah,
Roberts
they rewrote law.
So this is what Roberts' position was, which is completely against what the founders believed the Supreme Court to function as. But he basically said that we know it isn't written that way, but we believe that the intent of the incompetent idiots that wrote this were to still give the subsidies anyway. Right. So we're going to go ahead. Give me my magic eraser. I'm going to erase this, and I'm going to rewrite this, and I'm going to. This is complete legislation from the bench. It's not even sort of like legislation from the bench. It is actually writing or rewriting or doing stuff to laws that judges were never meant to.
You can't. They can't.
Isn't it ironic?
They cannot do this. They can't.
It's illegal.
Right.
It's against the Constitution to do what
SCOTUS just did. What
Roberts in particular.
Right.
But isn't it ironic, though, that he talks about the intent of the people who wrote the law? But it was the intent of the founders to not allow him to do this.
Right.
It's so ironic.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
That's one of, yeah.
Hey, he's inventing an intent that didn't exist, and by doing so, he is doing something that is against the intent of his position. So it's just, the irony is so thick you could cut it with a plastic knife.
There's a guy by the name of Gary Hart. He has written a book, The Republic of Conscience. Welcome to the age of vanity, politics, and campaigns for hire. What would our founders make of this nightmare? And it's Gary Hart, America's principles are in danger of corruption. Obviously, what would our founders make of this nightmare? I mean, think about that. If George Washington, who said, no, I will not be your king, were here right now with his ivory teeth, not wood, because that wouldn't have worked very well.
Well, these days they would say it wasn't ivory because that would be part of an elephant.
Oh, so it'd be illegal to say
elephants died in order to make him look pretty.
Yikes!
I love playing devil's advocate. All right, so anyway, what were we saying?
No, but if he was here today, what would they say? What would they be thinking? I mean, would they lose it?
There's two things. Mark Levin said if the founders were alive today, they would look at what was going on today, and they would all agree that what they tried to do has ultimately been a failure. That's what Mark Levin says.
Right. Right.
And that's just because all of the intent of everything they were trying to do has been systematically and aggressively bypassed by those that seek to gain the kind of power that the founding fathers were trying to write the Constitution to prevent from happening.
Right, right. Hey, CNN all over the gay pride now.
Of course.
They were going live. I don't have the sound clip, but they were going live. And they said that they spotted an ISIS flag.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Marching in lockstep with male-to-male partners and female-to-female partners. Hold on. Wait for it. As soon as the flag came close enough to actually see what it was, it was a picture of an adult toy. It was like an art design of an adult toy.
So it was a
phallic symbol.
So,
but they were so excited to create the news that ISIS has accepted the gayness.
Oh, don't tell me that this was all front and center.
Yes, it's live. By the way, did you hear ISIS did make a statement? They came out this week and they said, you know what, America?
Was it a verbal statement?
There were sounds involved. But they said, America, we saw what you did with legislation. And see, that's the thing. Other countries around the world watched as the Supreme Court justice said it is now law of the land. All marriage is gay marriage, is straight marriage. All marriage is the same. Everybody can do whatever they want.
One person and another person deciding getting into a lifelong monogamous relationship.
Right. So all the countries around the world are watching America and laughing.
They have to be. I would be cracking up if I wasn't in America. I'd be like, these guys have the logical intelligence of
They're going to blame all
idiots.
of us. They're going to say every American
stupid.
Is that.
It's stupid.
Right.
You got to be stupid to believe this
Except
stuff.
ISIS wasn't laughing.
They were insulted.
This enraged them.
Well, and we should point out that the reason it enrages them is because it is their belief and their goal to create Sharia law around the whole entire world, and they will use war and violence and death and murder in order to make that happen. They will go around. They will keep going.
They don't use logic and try and talk things out.
They just use Sharia. They use the Quran and Sharia law.
Right. A gun, a sword.
So when they see this stuff
Toyota
happen in
pickup
America,
truck.
it does insult them.
Oh, they were so insulted. They took this personal.
Yeah.
Like this was an eye, like a thumb in their eye.
But I had to point that out because there's going to be a lot of listeners that are like, I don't get it. You know, we do what we do in our country. They are not our country. They have their own country. Why would they get so upset over this? And it's because all of humanity is under their rule.
Right.
They just don't have control of it yet.
Correct.
But in their minds, they're like, it's all under the Quran. It's all under Sharia law. We just have to get a rein in on it.
Yeah, we just haven't taken it over physically complete.
Right.
So they found 4 gay hostages, 4 men that were hostages because they were accused of being gay.
You mean they may not have been gay?
Oh, yeah. They were using, because they had sore muscles, they were using Ben Gay And the one guy who doesn't read English very well said, "It says gay." And the other dude's like, "Arrest him."
That was like in 5th grade when you found out that somebody... You just giggled when the Ben Gay commercial came on. Because you were like, he said gay.
He said Ben Gay.
His name is Ben, and the product says gay.
So BEEN. Like, you've been
gay. Oh, I get it. So,
and there was a joke. I don't remember what it was, but there was a joke about Ben Gay.
Everybody giggled when the
yes.
commercials would come on.
So they've arrested these guys, and they had them as prisoners and for being gay. So he took 4 of them, and in front of the video camera, they went ahead and lopped all 4 of their heads off and said, "This is in direct response to America going down the road of being cool with sin."
Okay, so they share the belief of Graham, which is that this is just sin.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, it is sin if you're a religious person, and
why would you say that Graham and ISIS agree?
They agree.
Wow.
Well, I mean,
you can find common ground with anybody.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, he says they'll be judged when they're
judged.
Yeah, by God.
Right.
And ISIS is saying, well, we're going to judge you now, and we're going to try to punish you since we can't come over and start lopping off heads in America yet.
We're going to show you that we can do it here still.
Yeah, this will make us feel like some sort of a justice happened.
Right, because we're making our point and letting you know when we get there, you better tell the gays to go hide.
Right. Unless
you want us to cleanse them, because we will do that.
Well, they could tell them to go ahead and become Muslim. And are they able to forgive people who ask for forgiveness?
Funny that you mentioned that.
See,
I was reading an article, and there was a video attached to it as well. And it was an imam who was explaining to other Muslims that wanted to become bombers that there's a procedure that they can utilize that would hide the bomb in one of their orifices.
Okay.
However, the procedure took a long time to make that orifice large enough to... And he went on about the details of this, and one of the guys said, "Isn't that a sin against the Quran? I mean, that's a sin to do."
That's a good question.
In the back. And the imam said something to the fact of, whatever we have to do is right. Whatever we do for the purification of the world, whatever we do is okay in the eyes of Allah.
As long as it is to affect the Sharia law worldwide.
Right, to push our Sharia law everywhere in the world. If you do this, it's okay because you're doing it to push further the cause.
And this is the portion
hold on,
of
he said, however, go ahead and say 10 Hail Marys afterwards anyways.
Just
whatever their prayer is. That's what he told him. Yeah. He said, whatever their prayer is, he said, go ahead and pray for forgiveness anyways, just to double down on this.
Yeah.
But
it's called hedging.
But hedging your bet. And so they have a device that enlarges your
orifice,
your cavity,
in order to pack more explosives.
To get as much. I don't know. I mean, how much dynamite could you?
Well, the more the better.
Correct. But how long would it take you to get 20 sticks of dynamite in?
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Whew. Well, this is the portion of the show where I compare
20 sticks of dynamite to
what they're doing to the communists in America,
okay.
which is
good.
There is no sin, or they wouldn't call it sin. Atheists don't use the word sin, but there is no wrongdoing in the pursuit of communism.
Oh, correct.
I mean, it's just like what Lenin said. He said, I don't care if 75%, he may have used the word 3/4. If 3/4 of the entire population were to die in something, could be nuclear holocaust, as long as the other 25% is communist, that's A-okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
I must break you.
I must break you. We need that soundbite.
Just give it to you. I just gave it to you.
Did he say I must break you or I will break you?
I think he said I must.
I must break you. I love that wording because, and by the way, we're talking about Rocky IV. Ivan Drago, when he went toe to toe with Rambo. I mean,
dude,
Sylvester Stallone.
Dude, I typed in the word
I
space MU.
Okay.
The first search result, I must break you.
Okay, so this is obviously something that Google knows.
Well, they're listening to us.
Oh, they may be. Also, the Google programmers are in there. Oh, yeah. Well, you should have been able to just type in I
and then
space.
The third one, I must tell Jesus.
Okay.
Dude,
they know what we're talking
close,
about.
bro.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they listen to us every day, all the Google execs. But anyway, so Ivan Drago, they get toe-to-toe with Sylvester Stallone and looks him dead in the eye and says, I must break you. But I love the choice of words because he doesn't say, I will break you or anything else. He says, I must break you, which is a subtle way of telling you that it's not, he has no choice in the matter. He's been told, he's been given the order to break him. So he isn't telling him that he wants to break him or that he hopes to break him. He's saying he must break him because he might get punished if he doesn't.
Dude, well, and if you look at the way that he was raised, if you will.
By the state. No, that's the thing about communism. You're raised by the state.
Right. Mm-hmm. And he was conditioned and programmed. I mean, he was programmed.
It's a common practice in the former Soviet Union that if your child shows any type of special talent, that the state will take the child and nurture that talent. And the parents the propaganda was that the parents were super, super happy and proud that their child was taken by the state because they gave birth to a child that had these special gifts.
Right.
And they were so proud that the state took them away because they gave birth to such a special child. Oh. That was the propaganda. Could you imagine living in a world where you could have a child, and if your child showed promise in something, that not only was the state going to take them away and you were probably only going to hear from them once a year for the rest of their life, but you'd be super proud of that.
Wow.
It's amazing. But that is an absolute fact, though. So somebody like Ivan Drago in a real Soviet Union would have been taken at a very young age. And the state would have said, oh, this kid is showing promise in boxing. We're going to...
I mean, did you see his stature?
There are actual former Soviet children who were taken and raised in a boxing facility. It'd be the Klitschko brothers. They grew up in the former Soviet Union.
Wow.
And now they are brothers who I don't think they share the title. I think the one has the title and the other one, they vowed from a very early age to never fight each other in a real fight. So that's why they would end up trading the title back and forth because they can fight each other and beat each other. I don't know which one beats the other. One of them was the Olympics and the other one was not. Or maybe they were both. I don't know if they were both in the Olympics. But either way, they both had the title at one point. But the Klitschko brothers grew up in the Soviet Union. And they grew up waking up every morning as children and boxing.
Wow. That is...
He did say I was. Where did you find that soundbite so quick? Wow, the producers of this show are amazing.
Well, and they would be better.
I didn't even change subjects yet.
They would be better if
They had it already ready to go.
if our computer system.
Oh, the computer's a little. See,
Well, that and Spreaker sponsored this hour. Spreaker. It's speaker spelled wrong.
must be some sort of a liberal thing.
Spreaker spelled wrong.
I would love to talk to whoever founded that website and ask them, so what made you decide to just chuck an R in there?
Other than the fact that you didn't want to drop a dime
A big
to
dime.
the dude who had Spreaker.
Speakers.
Speakers. I can't even say it anymore. It took me so long. Like, I was researching different platforms. This one came up. I said, okay, that's good. For months, I could never find it again.
Oh, because you didn't realize it was misspelled.
Right.
Oh. Oh, that's rough.
So I went with it. Yeah.
Must be super cheap.
Oh, well, brought to you by
All y'all.
That's
Thoughts
so
on this
awesome.
hour.
Oh, my goodness.
So Obamacare has was a major win for Obama. All the news articles, major win for Obama. Obamacare through Supreme Court justice, still alive and wealthy, and Obama is rolling around in his rolling chair, screaming and laughing. How can it be this easy? How can it be this easy? Okay, so he's got Obamacare through. Again, another hoop. And the second thing that we just talked about for the first hour, marriage.
Yeah.
They've got that through. And the third thing, why I say that this is absolutely the worst week in American history ever,
Well, at least in our lifetime.
because it was a 3-punch.
Uh-oh, what was the third one?
Mitch, I've lost my ever-loving mind, McConnell, head of the Senate, said, I will.
Break you.
That will break you. I will give Obama what he wants.
Which
I will give
is-
him all ultimate, almighty, king-like power in world trade.
Oh, don't tell me. I didn't hear this.
They didn't want you to hear it. They wanted you to focus on the gay marriage.
So the fix is in. They basically got in behind closed doors with Roberts and Kennedy
Yeah.
and said, listen, if you run interference for us with
Right.
horrible SCOTUS decisions, we are going to clog the airways completely. The internet, Twitter, the airwaves, TV, media, even the streets. The
Right.
streets are clogged up with rainbows everywhere.
They what were you telling me? This had to be predicted. Like they had to know
No,
it was
it had
coming
to be
down.
corrupt.
It had to be corrupt. It
Had to be.
The gay community knew it was going to fall on their side.
Well, Brian said that there must be naked pictures of Roberts and Kennedy molesting young boys.
Oh, absolutely.
And that this is just a big shakedown and saying, listen, you make this happen or else these photos are coming out. And I said, gosh, it sure seems like it.
I mean, you think Bernie Madoff was bad? They've got stuff on Justice Roberts.
That's what we're thinking. But then what about so he ran interference. Well, we were trying to figure out what is going on here. And now it makes perfect sense. It
Right.
was interference.
So when it comes to international trade, the president negotiates the trade with other countries or whatnot, then presents that to the Congress, presents that to the Senate, has to be signed off, has good to go. However, Congress and the Senate signed off on a deal that gave Obama something called fast track.
Which basically means king status.
They have given Marco Rubio signed off on it and didn't read it. He said he didn't read it.
Well, he came out on Glenn Beck weeks ago. This is weeks ago. He was interviewed by Glenn Beck and had a pretty good defense of his position on it, which is that he's with Mitch McConnell and he's with all the despots in the Democrat Party who want to give all. And there are a lot of Democrats that are against it because they're like, hey, wait. We want to.
Why would Marco Rubio say he's down with the despots? Why would he say he's down with Mitch McConnell?
He didn't say that.
Mitch McConnell was so mentally and morally corrupt.
I wish I had the entire interview in front of me now to just play to you. It was a long interview. And
I wouldn't want to hear it then if it's that long.
Well, Glenn Beck didn't put a... I mean, he put up a fight, but it wasn't ridiculously... Like, he didn't really push hard on the fight, but...
Probably because he wants him to keep coming back. That's how Glenn makes money, by not destroying his guests.
Well, you know what he does? As soon as
they're off there, then he destroys them.
Oh, he destroys them. Yeah. I don't know how he gets away with it.
Not only does he destroy them when they're off, but then the other two guys on the show, they start cracking on Glenn for not being tough.
Right.
But you just gave that dude a pass.
They did.
So then they'll argue on the show back and forth. That's got to be tough to have a show with three people.
Oh, well, what happens is Glenn will disappear for a while. If you listen carefully and listen to the dynamics and keep a mental tally of who's talking and how long, Glenn will disappear for 5 or more minutes. And all of a sudden he'll chime in. And in the meantime, I think it's 4 total, isn't it? There's Stu, Jeffy.
Well, the one's a producer and he doesn't really ever speak up unless
they start
cracking on him, right?
Right. You're talking about Jeffy,
right?
The low voice guy. But I think there's 4 total, but 2 of them talk a lot.
Stu.
And there's also an unwritten rule. If you pay attention to the dynamics of the show, there's clearly a rule that that there are certain subjects that when Glenn starts to talk on, you are not to interrupt him, not even for the funniest joke you've ever thought of in your life.
Right.
And so Glenn will start to get into it. The tears and all, that kind of a conversation, or not a conversation, but the what would you call it? A
dialogue,
monologue. So he gets into his monologue, and they will never interrupt or chime in or anything.
They will only crack on him shedding tears after it's done.
Right, and they'll know when it's done. There's probably I don't know. I don't watch.
There's a janitor who's mopping the floor up. That's when it's over.
The janitor, when they call the janitor in. Oh my gosh. But other than that, it's, they don't, there's not one single person on that show that does a whole heck of a lot of talking because they politely take turns giving their opinions. And so it's a 3-hour show. Brian and I do a 3-hour show, but we don't even have the breaks that they have. So, the total amount of what each of them say isn't that much.
Right.
So anyway. So the Confederate flag thing finally went down.
Can I tell you what I did this week?
With regards to the Confederate flag?
Yeah.
Oh, what'd you do?
I attempted to order one.
Okay. From where?
Amazon.
Okay. I mean, that's a huge company.
They shut it down.
You're not allowed to buy a flag anymore?
Not from Amazon. No. A Confederate flag from Amazon.
So I went to Hobby Lobby, and I wanted red, white, and blue fabric. And they said, really? Well, we have to question you now. I'm just kidding.
Wow.
I'm just
kidding.
kidding.
Amazon has banned all the flags from being sold. However, you can buy Marxist material, Marxist flags, communist flags. You can buy Nazi propaganda.
Nazi?
Yeah.
You could buy a Nazi flag.
Sure.
But not a Stars and Bars.
No.
And by the way, I don't really...
Walmart pulled it off.
I'm from the North. My ancestors are from the North. All of my ancestors that fought in the Civil War, all of them. I don't have a single ancestor that fought for the South. They're all from the North.
Walmart pulled it.
That doesn't surprise me.
All their stores.
I didn't even... Wait a minute. You mean Walmart had Stars and Bars?
Of course, in the South.
Oh, in the South. Okay.
Well, it's the state flag for Mississippi.
Okay,
or something.
so here's my question.
Mississippi.
South Carolina. South Carolina. So there's a difference between the actual Confederate flag and a flag that has the Confederate flag in it, kind of like Australia has the British flag in it. But it's not the British flag, it's the Australian flag.
Right.
Okay, so South Carolina's state flag had the stars and bars in it. And is that what they were pulling down?
Yeah. You could go to Amazon and attempt to buy a Confederate flag. It won't happen. Not only that, but did you hear what Apple is doing?
Oh, we got to get to NASCAR. But go ahead. What's Apple doing?
Apple said all of their games that have the Confederate flag in it will either be removed or unavailable for sale.
Apple, what games? Oh, you mean the
like Call of Duty stuff or fight
what
games.
If they have a Civil War game?
Yeah, they do, and it's not anymore.
No.
No.
That's not even right, man. That is so wrong.
No, it is definitely wrong.
Okay, so I'm looking at the South Carolina state flag, and it looks like a Muslim flag.
Oh.
What is this?
I don't know what that is.
It looks like it's a moon flag.
Something crazy.
Wow.
There it is. Go back up. You just missed it. Right there.
So this was what?
The stars and bars.
Would they replace it with a...
No, I don't know what they've...
Okay, so
whatever you're doing is not... There you go.
Okay, so they were flying the Confederate flag
underneath
the American flag and underneath the state flag, the Muslim flag. the state Muslim flag.
Correct.
I hate to admit it, but that looks like something that you would see in the Middle East.
Yeah, it does.
I never seen that before.
Half moon.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I definitely don't have a problem with them pulling that down.
Some woman climbed the pole, started taking it down,
and she did. She took it down.
Yeah.
And it was put back up hours later or something like that.
Got to.
And they arrested her for vandalizing.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do
There's
that.
actually a law in South Carolina that would make what she did illegal. So they charged her with it and all that. I'm sure that law is going to be changed pretty soon.
Did you hear about Warner Brothers?
Negative.
Dukes of Hazzard car no longer legal.
It's not legal?
They said they destroyed the cast, and there will never be a licensing. the die-cast cars, they will never license that to be cast again. There would be no more.
What about eBay?
New,
because that's person to person.
eBay dropped it too.
Well, what if somebody wants to sell an old Hot Wheels car?
I clicked. Well, if you want to buy Hot Wheels, you can still do that. But I'm saying there will be no new cars.
Oh, right.
No new ones. No
well,
new
what
ones.
Okay, let me ask you this.
I went to eBay, clicked on a flag to buy it. The next page to buy it now. This is an error. This page is not available.
404 error. No!
Yeah, page not available.
Okay, all right. Then let me ask you this. Here, I'm throwing everything but the kitchen sink at you. What if I wanted to create a company whose product is General Lee Hot Wheels car? Not Hot Wheels, but a car, a little model car. And I produce that. And I'm just a person that owns a company. What would happen to me? I mean, I got Brian's gears are grinding now.
Well, the problem is that General Lee is trademarked.
Oh, so I'd have to get permission from.
And they said they will not allow anyone. They will not give rights to anyone.
What if I started producing Confederate flags as a company that does nothing but mass produces Confederate flags? I would have a distribution problem because I couldn't sell it on Amazon.
Right.
eBay may be an issue.
Oh, definitely an issue. You can't sell it. You can't sell them on eBay. I'm telling you.
Well, I just searched South Carolina state flag, and the photographs of the Confederate flag came up, and this is a Google search. I'm wondering if Google is going to go through and start censoring all photographs of Confederate flags.
So this company called they sell called their alabamaflag.com, and they sell a nylon Confederate battle flags. And you can get them any size, 2 foot by 3 foot, 3 foot by 5 foot, and you can even get them all the way up to 5 foot by 8 foot. However, I opted for the 3 by 5 for $46.
Okay.
And I paid for it and everything, but I haven't heard anything since.
You paid for it?
Yeah.
So you're going to buy one?
Through PayPal?
Well, I admire your desire to exercise your God-given First Amendment right. That the founders felt the need to write on a document to remind all the despots out there that you do have a right from God to express yourself.
I didn't take ADD medication today. Bombshell. Obama's family owned slaves.
I don't think there's a single ancestor of mine. I mean, I did extensive family research. I don't think any of them owned slaves. And you're telling me that our first black president owned slaves?
Yeah, his ancestors. Yeah.
Which is unbelievable.
It's not, because if you go back and do a little bit of research, a lot of the slave owners of slaves were black.
Yeah, but his black father wasn't even American.
No, but he had white parents.
Okay. And
they were American. So it's probably down his mother's side.
Well, that's loose. That's a loose definition of American when you consider that they were complete anti-American communists during the Cold War. They were one action away from being Julius and Ethel Rosenberg or Rosenbaum or whatever, who, by the way, were justly executed for handing the Soviet Union all of the nuclear blueprints.
Right.
Absolutely. Back in the 40s.
So on the 26th, what was that, Friday. On Friday, civil rights leaders scream, "Take down the American flag since whites don't care about 9 dead in Charleston."
The American flag?
Yeah.
Why?
Because whites don't care about 9 dead in Charleston.
What does whites have anything to do with the American flag?
That's what the civil rights leaders are screaming. Take it down.
Well, if they don't consider themselves, I mean, if they look at the American flag and they don't feel like they're a part of that, that's an issue that needs to be discussed. Don't you think?
Right.
The American flag needs to be brought down?
They're screaming, take it down. Take down the American flag.
I know.
Even Rush talked about it this week. He said, next flag, it'll be the American flag.
So, okay.
And Friday they came out and said, yeah, bring it down.
Well, okay, so is it the flag? Is that the problem? Do they want to replace the American flag with another symbol that represents America? And if so, why and what would it be? And that begs the last question, which is, when will that one have to be pulled down because of the hatred towards America? Do you fail, or I shouldn't say fail, do you no longer hate America when you replace the symbol that represents your hatred of it, which is the American flag?
Right.
Does a new flag erase that? Is it just the flag that makes you hate America? I mean, earlier we talked about the word marriage just being a word that and word being sounds that come out of your mouth.
Right.
This is just fabric arranged in a pattern of colors that represents something. So if I change the pattern, it's still representing something.
Right. By the way, the producer just gave me that email on chlorine in the pool making your eyes red.
Is it chlorine?
And it's not chlorine. It's the reaction of urine to chlorine that makes your eyes red.
Did you take your ADHD, man?
I don't know what's going on today. So no, but yeah, you're absolutely right. That no, it's a symbol. The American flag is a symbol of freedom. It's not a symbol of white people. It's not a symbol of color. It's not even it doesn't denote a race.
I don't know where this is the most sad demonstration of the result of the kind of education that black Americans are receiving here. And they're getting it from other blacks, or in the case of that woman that was masquerading around as a black woman. She was a professor of African American studies.
Well, she is a black woman.
Oh, that's right.
She came out of the closet.
That's right. Who are we to judge, or not judge, but
Right.
assign her whatever race she wants to be?
Right.
Who am I to say what she is or isn't?
New York City's attempting to pass a law stating that bathrooms are gender neutral.
Oh my gosh. Well, then I guess my daughter's not going to be using a bathroom.
I'm not going to
anytime
New
soon.
York. What woman would feel safe?
Okay, well, let me put it to you this way. I go to a place like Kings Island. Crowded, huge crowds, people everywhere. When we go up to a bathroom, I say, well, I need to use the bathroom. Do you need to use the bathroom, honey? And she'll say, yes, I do. Well, I can't go in there with her, and I trust that all the people that are in there are going to ignore her or leave her alone while she does her business.
Right.
And now I have to hope that that's the case when a big, burly, hairy man is in there.
Right.
Because he's now allowed in there.
Because although he has the parts of a big, hairy, burly man,
He identifies
himself. Yeah. So they also said that Gone with the Wind should be taken down. No longer.
Oh, because it's a Civil War movie.
Right.
What about the movie The General with Buster Keaton?
Oh, yeah.
He was a Confederate soldier in that movie.
Hey, I posted an article on Facebook about these congressmen and these senators who are allowing this stuff to flow through the works, if you will. And it's a whole article. You can catch it if you follow us on Facebook. Here's how much corporations paid U.S. senators to fast-track the TPP bill. The total of $1.1 million given, an average of $17,000, was donated to each of the 65 yes votes. The average Republican member received $19,500 from corporates for TPP support. Average Democrat, $9,000. They're cheap.
Well, they were already leaning towards it.
They're already in the camp. It was just
a little greasing of the wheel.
Grease the wheels, baby.
Yeah, grease the wheel. But now the Republicans were like, "Oh, I'm gonna need more. I'm gonna need what'd you say, 19,000?
19.5.
I'm gonna need 19,500." They were like, fine. Let's see if we can go find the money, raise it.
That's $10,000 more.
Right.
That's double.
Well, the Democrats said, "Well, we were going to vote for it, but we're going to go ahead and tell you."
Since you're paying the Republicans, dude, we need to get some kind of.
And if not,
money.
we're going to vote no, even though we wanted to vote yes.
We might vote yes, but we might vote no. I don't know how I'm going to vote. I don't know if I'm in this to win it or not.
Oh my gosh!
Are you in it to win it?
It's either a yes, no, or no vote, or yes vote or no vote. I don't know. It's up to you.
Right. You tell me what you want.
There's $100 in this wallet. Or maybe
there isn't. We need that sound clip.
That's what I was thinking of when you were saying that.
Oh, man. So,
can you hold my wallet for me while I take this test? There's $100 in there. Or maybe there isn't.
Spies like us, folks. This is required viewing.
Oh,
movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Required movies
that
to
and
view.
Ghostbusters. The more I see Ghostbusters, the more I realize how much of a
conservative.
It's a massively, not only a massively pro-capitalism movie, but it's also a massively anti-government, anti-bureaucracy movie. Because the EPA is the main villain in it. Remember
right.
the guy
yes.
that said,
the
"Shut
government,
these down."
the big
He's like,
government.
"You shut these down, and we're going to have massive chaos."
And he
in the
wound up
street."
shutting it down. And
Yeah,
they had
there was
massive
chaos, and then they had to go to the mayor and say, "We'll save you. We're going to save all your voters, and you're going to get credit for it if you let us out of jail and battle these ghosts."
Right.
And in the beginning, they were professors at a university. And they end up getting thrown out because of, they didn't really agree with what the staff didn't agree with what they were doing. And they ended up having to go into the private sector and raise capital to start a business from scratch. And they did commercials, and they were struggling at first.
They provided a service, well-needed service.
And they didn't know how well it was needed at first, and come to find out it was needed.
Overwhelming.
It was very well needed. And then they were getting free advertisement after a while because of their popularity, and they were getting on these talk shows. And
then they had a song. Who you gonna call?
Well, I don't know if that...
Ghostbusters.
Yeah. What's that guy's name? Ray Parker Jr. Oh, Ray Parker Jr.
Speaking about that, Louis Farrakhan, he was the one who said, I don't get the debate over the Confederate flag. We need to put the American flag down. Louis Farrakhan.
That's... It almost sounds like a parody. I mean, is that Onion? Is it the Onion article?
No. This is from WMD.
What? That sounds credible.
It's from Breitbart.
Oh.
It says, because we need to put it down because we've caught as much hell under that as we have under the Confederate flag.
Does he even know? What do you mean under the Confederate flag? What is he talking about?
He said he's caught more hell under the American flag than his ancestors did under the Confederate
he may
flag.
actually be correct about that because the Confederate flag really didn't have much to do with all that.
No.
I don't know. It is a fact that I will concede is true that if you find somebody who would give black people a hard time over the color of their skin, I would argue that the odds of you finding a Confederate flag in their possession somewhere is probably high.
Right.
That's the connection. That's the only connection I can come up with.
That's the Mississippi state flag. That's the one I was talking about.
Oh, the Mississippi flag. So the Mississippi flag still currently has, as a part of it, the stars and bars.
Yes. You know how the American flag has the 50 stars?
Yeah.
In that section up in the top left corner, for the Mississippi flag, it's replaced by the Confederate flag, the stars and bars, the cross. And then the rest of the flag is 3 other colors. And Thad Cochran issued a statement on this, saying that as a proud citizen of Mississippi, it is my personal hope that the state government will consider changing the flag. The recent debate on the symbolism of our flag, which belongs to all of us, presents the people of our state an opportunity to consider a new banner that represents Mississippi. I appreciate the views of my friends and my colleagues, Roger Wicker, and agree that we should look for unity and not divisiveness. But
I feel like I'm in school and I'm a teacher, and you're like the kid trying to read.
In the symbols of our state. So he went to Louis Farrakhan for suggestions, and he said the Black Panthers have a great idea. And Thad Cochran said, well, let's get a meeting. Let's get let's get a sit down.
Help me out. What's up?
Let's get a sit down, man.
All right. And he said, we want you to remove the American flag. Like, come on, man. Can you at least be serious?
Yeah, he's like, so, whoa. I don't have control of that yet. But as soon as Obama becomes final Führer, mein Führer, then we can do that.
All the flags will change at that point.
Right.
It'll be the hammer and sickle.
Just a redux.
Well, certainly at least 90% of the entire American flag under the but I don't know if America is the right word. I'm sure that'll change too. It used to be Russia. And then when the communists took over, it was the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic.
And while we were talking to our Russian friend this weekend, I slipped and made a boo-boo, if you will, because she's from the state of Georgia.
Okay.
She said, whoa. We don't have states in Russia. I said, oh, you're right. There are no states in Russia.
Okay.
It's all Russia. So every state in America would be dissolved, and they would all be the United People's Republic of America.
The Union of Soviet Socialists in America.
Correct.
So USSA.
Right. So every state from Hawaii to Washington, D.C., all of them
would be painted red. And it's interesting, if you look at all the maps from 1989 and earlier, There were no lines in Russia or USSR. It was just one big blob.
Right.
With cities, little dots for cities.
CNN, Calamity News Network, which is painful to me because this is where a lot of people get their information. I got a guy that I work with. He's my night shift guy, and something happened. We slipped. It was a bad week, and I made mention that America's going down the toilet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Said something about Obamacare, and he flipped. I'm like, this guy is a all-American conservative. At least he seemed like a conservative all-American guy, and he blew up, saying that we had to do. You've got 18 million people who got nothing.
Well, now we have more.
No, that's not true. They said it's leveled off and it's going down.
I don't believe that. I mean,
He said the prices are going. He said, "Are you paying more?" I'm not paying any more than I was 5 years ago.
I'm paying a lot less because I don't have any.
Right.
I have no medical insurance.
He's like, "Do you know anybody that's happened?" I said, "Yeah." So as soon as I'm arguing with a lib, obviously, as soon as because I'll lie to a liberal when they start to try and paint me in a corner, like, "Well, name somebody." I'm like, "Oh, my brother's uncle's cousin out in L.A." He's like, "Really?" I'm like,
so what?
Yeah.
Name one of what?
Someone who's lost their insurance.
Me. Well, I mean, I voluntarily gave it up, but I couldn't afford it.
I forgot about you.
Yeah, I couldn't afford it.
I forgot. He put me on the spot, so I had to make something up.
I
wasn't. But the thing is, I wasn't making it up because we know of millions of reports that the Republicans were putting out there.
I hear it all the time when you're listening to the callers into all the different. I don't do it anymore.
Right.
The main reason is if you take the deductible and then the monthly fee, and really think about it, you might be better off paying for most things cash when you have, like, if it could be a doctor's appointment or something like that.
You can negotiate that price, though. By the way, if you're paying cash, you can negotiate emergency room visit, $5,000 with insurance. If you say I've got cash only, $2,000.
My God. That is hilariously corrupt.
66% discount.
That is hilariously corrupt. So that's cool because if not, it might end up being nothing because I could say, well, I'm just going to go ahead and file for bankruptcy or whatever.
Right.
So the next thing that they do is going to do what Reagan did, unfortunately. Reagan passed a law or signed a law forcing anybody that takes debt for education to pay it no matter what.
Okay.
You know about that thing. If you have a student loan,
right,
doesn't matter what kind of bankruptcy you file, you have to pay that no matter what. And
we have major failure. Nobody's saying anything. We need. Okay.
As I look out today, I'm moved by your hope for a bright future. A future where student debt crushes your dreams and you're forced to clean your neighbor's gutters for gas money. Where graduating with honors will get you hired, but only if your uncle owns the company. Where you move back home and share a bathroom with your younger sister. Where you trade your pants for sweatpants. And the only lasting impression you make is on the cushions of your couch. Still, when one door closes, another door opens. But just a crack, then it slams shut on your fingers. In short, good luck. You'll need it.
We're back.
Woo! We did it!
We are back.
All right.
That's the third bank.
What kind of
Stop that.
No matter what kind of financial turmoil you're in, if you took out a loan of any kind that was a student loan for education, you must pay that back no matter what. And I think the philosophy is the product or service that you received is yours forever, and it has worth. The problem is...
It's knowledge.
Knowledge, right. The problem is that no matter how smart you are, no matter how much you know, no matter where you got that education, it doesn't get recognized as real unless you got the paper.
Right. So if you don't finish, you shouldn't have to pay it back.
Exactly. Because it's not recognized as education until you get the 4-year paper.
Dude, I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm down.
So that being the case, I think that's ridiculous. So, but anyway, so back to healthcare.
Did we get on health?
Because I was going to make a point. I was going to make a point.
We shifted from healthcare because of CNN.
The point is that the next thing that's going to happen is a Reagan-esque type of law being signed in will be that if you get healthcare that costs money, you will have, no matter what kind of bankruptcy you file, you'll have to pay for that.
Yes, I can see that. So back to the flag deal.
We're back on flag. How did we get on healthcare?
Well, we did because CNN, my buddy listens to CNN.
Okay.
And he blew up on me about healthcare and Obamacare. So this is where a lot of these leftist, low information voters, if you watch CNN for information, factual news, you need to turn it off.
Well, as long as you know that it's only the type of entertainment to either outrage you or affirm your idiotic beliefs, then you're okay to watch as long as you know that that's what it's all about.
So CNN hosts, supposed to be news reporters, hosts, whatever, suggest that Thomas Jefferson Memorial in Washington, D.C. needs to be torn down because slavery.
Well, he actually loved a slave as a person.
Like a human being?
Well, he ended up having children with her.
Ooh.
Now, they would argue, well, that's rape. Because clearly, she's a slave. She had to,
Well, but did she want it?
Well, they would argue it wouldn't matter. It's irrelevant because she couldn't say no.
Oh, right.
But I live in the real world, not the world of theory. Correct. I don't care if you have slaves or not. I can't imagine somebody who wrote the Declaration of Independence, who, by the way, was an abolitionist. Did you know that? Thomas Jefferson was an abolitionist. And as a matter of fact, one of the main reasons why he changed John Locke's life, liberty, and property to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness is because he knew that the word property was going to be used against the North by the South to include slaves. Say, hey, I have a constitutional right to my property, and my property is slaves. So,
wow.
Yeah, so in an attempt to try to head the South off at the pass with regards to slavery, because it was his goal to have a new America that was free for everybody, including blacks, slaves, whatever it might be, every human being have all of the rights that they were trying to write into the Bill of Rights. And so they were trying to do these little things to undermine slavery, and that was one of them. So he was an abolitionist.
As Obama and the left try to erase all Confederate history and the flags, New York gay bar, gets historical landmark status.
And how's that?
Based on freedom.
But what happened there that would give them that landmark status?
They just rewrote a historical thing that happened.
Well, what did they say that was?
They said that we fought for gays in the 70s.
The 70s?
Yeah.
Oh, what? Is it in San Francisco?
This is in New York.
Well, they're crazy then. Anything that would be landmark when it comes to gay...
the owner of the bar said...
acceptance would be San Francisco.
Right. The owner of the bar said that this is a historical building, while all the Civil War sites need to be kind of pushed off, because that's slavery. We're freedom. Okay. Okay. We're freedom. Okay.
So they're going to take a wrecking ball to all the real things, and it's imaginary. Look, the word married or marriage it's an imaginary oppression that they're feeling from their own mind.
Oh, absolutely.
So basically, by forcing people to legally accept an idea, they have been unshackled from imaginary chains. I mean, literally.
Correct. Well, they have to create their own suppression in order to create the look that they're fighting.
And that's why the oppression was imaginary.
Speaking of oppression and imaginary, did you hear there's an article? I was looking for it. I can't find it. But they said that Cruz, his dad.
Not Tom Cruise.
No, Ted Cruz.
Yeah, Ted Cruz.
But some document or something surfaced that said his dad wanted to fight side by side with Fidel.
And where did you find it? And so you can't find this article.
I've lost it.
Can't find it anywhere.
It was in my stack of stuff.
It had to have been on Huffington Post.
Now we've got this too, and this happened before the gay ruling. LGBT studies. There's a studies course at the San Francisco High School. It's the first in the nation.
Okay.
You'll learn about their oppression and how gays and lesbians and transgenders have been oppressed.
This is a museum?
No, it's a high school class.
Oh, class?
It's a course. Well, it's an elective right now.
So it's like women's studies and African American studies. Now they have a gay
LGBT studies because it's their rights, their freedoms, and their rights.
Great.
Yeah.
Nice. So it'll be a place where people that are not LGBT can have a non-LGBT guilt trip.
Right.
And feel guilty, and where you can rally the LGBT people to whip them up into a enraged frenzy against all those non-LGBT people.
Right.
And the reason I'm saying that, I've actually substituted black or women for LGBT because that's exactly what the women's studies does for the feminazis.
Right.
And the African American studies does for black people or white people who are suffering from severe white guilt.
Or if you were born a white man, but you really know
deep in your heart
that you're a black man.
Right, which is obviously a very common phenomenon.
It's happening more than you know.
There's a caller in Rush.
Right.
Did you hear that one?
Yeah, we talked about that.
Did you listen to it, though?
No, I didn't get it.
My gosh, it was groundbreaking.
I keep forgetting to do it.
And it was something that he was so proud of scooping the entire country on, because the following week is when the woman came out.
A girl broke her story.
Yeah, that she always felt like she was black.
She said, why does everybody have to whitewash all this?
What do you mean by whitewash?
She did say that. Word for word. That's a quote.
I know, and when I read that, I thought, that's not an accident, is it? Or maybe it is.
So since you were in the military, I was in the military, this popped up this week, and I made a knee-jerk reaction. I didn't know how to feel about it. I thought more and more and more, and then I read some other articles about it. And I'm pretty angered about this. But this week, Obama administration, they were accused of giving terrorists an incentive to kidnap, as it is unveiled a hostage policy overhaul, allowing families of U.S. hostages to pay ransom.
Oh, okay,
and allowing the U.S. government to help families communicate with captors.
Yeah, this is a really tough thing to tell people. But there is a very specific and a very good reason why. You have to understand capitalism in order to see why it's so unbelievably important to not allow anybody to pay ransom for kidnapped people.
Our founding fathers learned this early on with the Barbary pirates.
Okay. See, I don't even know about that. I just go off of a philosophical capitalist standpoint.
Barbary pirates were Muslims, pirates, and would seize our ships of goods and services.
And you're saying that the founders
paid them and worked with them and tried to deal with them. And every time they did, they'd turn around and stab them in the back, take their stuff, kill their troops. They say, come on. Since then, it was an ongoing standing policy that you do not negotiate with terrorists ever, 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 ever.
And that was
so
a long time ago, yeah.
We sent the military out there to kill them all.
And did they?
Yeah, so we could keep sailing our ships.
Oh, okay. And that's
how you fix it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to kill the people that
are killing you.
Once you get to the point, and you gotta get to the point where you can make a decision as to whether or not these people could ever be negotiated with, or or bypassed or whatever. When you can't bypass people that you can't work with contracts verbally or whatever, and they're killing or capturing or stealing, and it's just the whole thing is in a chaos. I mean, eventually you got to get to the point where you're like, all right, we have to eliminate these people.
Right. You can't allow someone to continue to murder.
Right.
Innocent lives.
So the thing about paying for ransom for people that are kidnapped, you got to understand capitalism. If you're a socialist, this is going to be really hard. If you're an anti-capitalist,
right? That's why Obama doesn't understand why this is such a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to understand capitalism, which, by the way, is the way to freedom and prosperity. So that's why it's important to not only know it, but to exercise it and to live it and all that kind of stuff. But anytime you have a product or service that will net you a profit, you're going to either you are going to say, hey, I should do that. I should create that product, or I should do that service so that I can earn the profits from it. Or if you don't do it, somebody else will. Right. And it will happen.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody's going to say, hey, there's money to be made there. If there's a vacuum of that product or service, meaning that nobody's out there making it, we just learned that this week. Guys charging $35 to $40 for a little 3-inch wire. And I'm going to gladly pay it.
We don't know anybody who makes that.
No,
ever.
One guy makes it, and honestly, if he charged $99, I'd probably pay it. Because the alternative would be to create it from scratch myself.
Part of the reason we're here is because climate change is threatening this treasure.
We're good. Sorry.
Yeah, a little technical difficulties. I'm like, whoa, I got to take off my headset.
I had a personal lock up there.
Well, what happened was there was a screeching noise in my ear. But anyway, okay. So this guy, he's creating this product, and it just so happens it's not a hugely sought after item. I'm actually surprised there should be more people.
It's called supply and demand.
Right. So he can charge $40 for this little 3-inch wire.
Correct.
So anyway, and I'm going to gladly pay it.
Because people like us will pay it because we need it.
So there's a little bit of a very quick crash course in capitalism, right? Now, if you create an industry that could make somebody money, there's going to be people out there that are going to continue to go the route of the big money, especially if it's big money. Right. So when somebody kidnaps another person and there is a high probability of getting paid for that action, then you've created an industry.
Especially if it's a successful payment. I mean, the check clears the bank, deposit it into your bank account, you're able to withdraw it, you don't go to jail.
Which who's going to go after them?
You're good to go.
Once you got your loved one back, there's not going to be a huge demand to go get justice, other than the fact that you lost millions of dollars. I mean, if it's $1 million, Brian gets kidnapped, they ask me for $1 million ransom.
And you say, go ahead, whack him.
Well, let's just say that I have $1 million sitting around, and it also is important to note that it would have to be worth it to me to lose that $1 million to get Brian back.
And the producers of the show would pony up the money and then used to write that off on their taxes.
It's a write-off.
Yeah,
right,
tax write-off.
So we do that. What we've actually done there, sure, we got Brian back, and it cost us a little bit of money.
Right.
We have created a massive demand for more hostages to be able to demand more money. And all of a sudden there's going to be a group of people that could be growing. It could be a large group of people that will increasingly get larger, of people who will be seeking to kidnap people.
Right. You all know Craigslist.
Okay.
Well, in order to sell something on Craigslist, if you want to sell an item for money, they used to have this system where you would phone verify your account.
Okay.
They would either text you a number or they would call you, and an automated voice would give you a secret number to then type it in to verify. Yeah, verification code. And a lot of people wanted to sell a lot of stuff, but they only had one phone number. and one number was only good every 90 days.
Okay.
So it created an industry where people sold phone numbers.
Okay.
So you would sell people thousands of phone numbers. There's a guy in Romania that I became friends with.
Yeah.
That he would purchase $800 worth of phone numbers every month.
Okay.
I don't know what he's selling.
But he needed those phone
and
numbers.
I ain't buying, but, you know. Well, Craigslist changed their system, and those numbers are no longer, they don't do that.
Oh, great.
So that industry went, like the flip phone, went straight up, big boom, straight back down.
Feel bad for those that have put all their money in the flip phone industry.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How's BrickBerry doing?
They may still be alive. My sister may actually have a BrickBerry.
She just finally got rid of it. She was the last one I knew.
Obama.
He still has a BlackBerry? Oh, it's a government.
He's
it's a government thing.
BlackBerry president. He can't get something other than a BlackBerry.
Well, but the thing is that it's government paid. That's the only reason why BlackBerry is still alive is because they've taken it's all government money.
Not necessarily. What happened was they said we need you to keep the BlackBerry, so they pay Obama under the table, right into his pocket. Not the government. Obama.
So when he wants to actually make a phone call, he pulls out his iPhone.
That's hilarious.
You know how that goes. Come on.
He's just paid to endorse BlackBerry. He actually has an iPhone.
Well, he did make a climate speech on Earth Day this week.
Okay.
Down in Florida. For all you.
By the way, is Florida underwater yet? Because certainly the predictions.
It's supposed to be.
Oh, totally underwater.
Right.
Like by the way, I've gone to Florida during most of the years of the climate change crisis.
Ooh, climate.
The beach is, and by beach I mean the line that separates the water from the sand.
Right.
That hasn't moved.
What?
And you would think
it had to have moved.
Even if the water's only going up a couple of millimeters or even a millimeter a year, coastlines would be dramatically changed just by
No, it's because the Earth has turned. It's rotated a little bit, and so the water's receding from California.
But then there's supposed to be rising seawater.
Oh, man, I can't explain that one.
Oh, is it temporary, that tsunami in Japan?
Right. So for Climate Earth Day, climate calamity, climate chaos, for all you climate change deniers in Florida, the flight for Air Force One to go down there and I guess come back or somewhere else. You know how much that fuel cost? Taxpayers paid $866,000, $615.
It's hard to imagine because I only pay, several $100s, $300-$400, never more than $500 to fly all the way to like Vegas.
Right. Well, jet fuel is $15 a gallon.
I don't know how much
something
jet
like
fuel
that.
is.
Something like that.
15.
Maybe less.
Really?
Maybe less.
Oh, I don't know. We're just throwing numbers out.
Well,
there.
I priced it out.
We're doing what SCOTUS is doing right now.
Yeah. Well, so at $15 an hour today, might be $16 tomorrow. And it was $14 yesterday. Getting my information from SCOTUS as I'm speaking.
Well, if 5 + 5 equals 11, this would all make sense.
We're green and good to go. So I did the calculations one time, and to fill up Air Force One, I mean, you're talking $30,000.
Okay.
I don't know where they get the $800,000. I mean, it's a high price. It might be.
Is there more fuel since you can probably fly further? But you still would need that just to get to Florida.
Right. No, you wouldn't need that to Florida. I think that either it was one of those. Let's see, I clicked it, and that's where we had the failure just now.
Well, they also have to fly cargo planes, a whole bunch of massive cargo planes.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
His whole entourage.
Yeah, when
of
you
planes,
show up,
of
think
aircraft.
about it. You show up in Florida as president,
right?
And you get onto your presidential limousine. Well, they didn't drive that there. They flew a military cargo plane, C-17.
The whole entourage of limousines.
Yeah, so they load that. I heard that there's several C-17s they have to fill up.
Yes.
And they fly that ahead of Air Force One.
Right.
And so that way when he lands, he gets off the stairway into the limousine that's already there thanks to the cargo planes.
Right.
And then there's other people.
They also had, when he came to L.A. one time when I was working out there at LAX, they had...
Obama or Bush?
Obama.
Okay.
They had there's a crew of helicopters. It's like a task force. No, it's like they're fighter helicopters.
The Cobras?
Oh, yeah, the Cobras. There's a whole team of them that follow Marine One.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty cool. It's really, really, really cool. That's when I had the BlackBerry. I filmed it, and I don't know where that stuff... It did look like I was filming it with a potato.
Oh, it wasn't very good quality.
No, it was horrible.
Wow.
But anyway, so now when I saw him come through, I mean, everything shuts down.
Right.
All the streets shut down.
Oh, I was in Delhi.
All the airways shut down.
In Delhi, when I was working there outside, a plane would fly over, and you can't miss it because it's about 100 feet off the ground when it flies over Delhi. And so they would come in nonstop, one after the other after the other.
Right.
And suddenly I noticed that there hadn't been a plane in a while. Like no planes had flown over the head in like at least 15 minutes, which is something that you would notice. Like every minute a plane would fly over, and then all of a sudden 15 minutes straight, no planes. And then way off in the distance you saw this little light, like, oh, a plane's coming in. I haven't seen one in a while. And all of a sudden it got closer, and I realized it had 4 jet engines, which in Cincinnati at the time, that was extremely rare.
Oh, yeah.
You don't see very many 4-engine jets. And then it got really close, and I noticed it looked a lot like a 747. So I was like, oh, wow, 747's coming in. And then it got even, like I said, these things are only 100 feet off the ground in Delhi. And it flew over, and I saw all the markings, the colors, and everything. It was Air Force One. And I was like, wow, that's George Bush flying over. This is when George Bush was president. So I called my my wife, and she called her brother who was working for the Republicans at the time. And he said, well, he didn't fly over right now. I was like, I just saw him. What are you talking about? Well, he wasn't on the plane. Turns out he flew into Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton and motorcaded it from Dayton through Lebanon, where he made a big television appearance.
Wow.
They all go through Lebanon. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Lebanon has a restaurant. That tiny little town.
I did. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I remember when they talked about him going there.
Every presidential candidate goes to Lebanon and eats at that stupid restaurant.
Right.
But anyway, so he was going through Lebanon, and then he was going to catch the plane in Cincinnati. So when I saw Air Force One flying over, it was just hopping from Wright-Pat to Cincinnati to meet him.
Okay.
So anyway, that was.
Hey, did you see the stars and bars, the Confederate flag of Clinton Gore, 1992?
I did not.
The campaign, Clinton Gore, 92.
Well, obviously that's a parody. That's not real.
No, that is real. Oh yeah,
because it's on the internet.
Yeah,
I found it on the internet, so it has to be real.
They were talking about it all week. You didn't hear about that?
Well, no. Everybody knows now, thanks to a little bit of random cases of journalism, that Clinton signed something when he was in Arkansas that allowed the Confederate flag to be flown somewhere. So Clinton's all for the Confederate flag.
Yes. Yes. Apparently the UN is weighing in on the Charleston shootings and vows to get control of Americans' guns. I don't know how that's possible, but
who's getting Americans'
United
guns?
Nations. They said that they vow to change our laws.
Oh, good luck with that.
Well, I mean, they're doing a pretty good job through Obama. Oh,
well,
have you ever?
They're paying Obama. I guess that makes sense.
Right. Have you heard the name Valerie Jarrett?
Yeah.
She's one of Obama's number
communist.
one. Communist confidant.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't need this information to come out, but it came out this week, and so that's why I'm throwing it out there. I mean, we all knew she's a hardcore communist. I mean, there's no question about it. But apparently this week, Judicial Watch for the Freedom of Information Act had obtained material on her dad, her grandfather, father-in-law, that Valerie Jarrett and her entire family are hardcore communists.
Well, that's not news to me. That's
no,
pretty, I mean, I could have told you.
I know it's not news to you.
I may have actually said that.
But for people to doubt us.
Yeah, so all it does is verify everything that we at Smith Radio have been educating you on.
It's like when you buy a six-pack and they say, show me proof you paid for that. This is the receipt.
There you go. that pretty much sums that up.
Mitch McConnell to the Kentucky Capitol. Lose the Jefferson Davis statue.
I don't know what to think about that. I mean,
Jefferson Day. If you
that would be similar. That would be similar to a Russian in Russia demanding that the statue of Lenin be taken down.
Right. Trivia question: what man was president in the United States, but never listed as a president of the United States?
Oh my gosh, I have no idea.
Jefferson Davis.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
President of the Confederacy.
Yeah, he was a president in the United States
for the Confederacy.
Right.
Yeah, man. I don't think it's a good idea to erase our history like this. I think it's really, really bad to not teach these things to the kids, because they need to know how far. I know it's hard.
Well,
how
you can
far
do it.
We've come.
Okay, so the opposition of the Confederate flag, they're all saying, bring the flag down and put it in a museum. And that's a very politically correct way of doing it, because they're not saying, hey, let's erase this from history. We're saying, let's just teach about it in the museum. And so for Jefferson Davis, when he's out as a statue in public, it's kind of like celebrating the man and his life and what he has done. Whereas if you just pull it down and throw it in a museum, then I think it's a little bit more appropriate, because you're not erasing history. Like the Muslims are blowing up 2,000-year-old statues.
Oh, 3,000-year-old.
And that's just wrong.
Relics.
They should leave it there and say this is what it was, and it should,
It's beautiful artwork. I mean, it'd be like blowing up the pyramid because slaves built them.
Well, that's probably what happened to the Ark of the Covenant, is that Muslims got a hold of it and said, we need to melt this thing down. But so the Jefferson Davis, sure. I mean, I really don't see the point of having him on display in bronze in public, because to me, if you get that treatment, you get put in a statue in town square or whatever,
glorification,
a park or whatever. It's like, this is something. Is there a single statue in the United States of America of John Locke?
Probably, but there should be many more.
There should be a John Locke in every city, square, or park in the entire country, because that is, I think the problem we have, and we talked about this with Tesla, if they're not naturalized American-born soil, American soil-born people, our history is that we don't really, we don't take to them very well.
Right.
And John Locke and Montesquieu were they never stepped foot in America, but they were an integral part of the founding of the country. Both the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence were said to be forgeries. If you hear people say, "Oh, it's such original thoughts coming from the founders," no, they were literally copying what Montesquieu and Locke wrote in their books over in Europe during the Enlightenment period. All the American founders were doing was putting into practice what Montesquieu and Locke were preaching in the Enlightenment period.
There are Locke statues in America. Problem is that nobody's teaching what he is.
Nope. Nobody knows. Nobody. I had no idea. I never even really heard of or remember the name John Locke when I learned all about it recently in Ameritopia. We talk extensively about him, and I was upset. I felt really shortchanged that during all of the courses I've taken in American history that there wasn't large chapters devoted to nothing but John Locke, and maybe an additional, completely separate chapter on Charles Montesquieu, because both of those guys were the authors of the Constitution, not directly but indirectly.
Right.
They wrote what ended up being the founding of our country, and the fact that that is not very clearly pointed out and taught about in American history, that's just a shame.
I agree 100%. Hey, did you hear that Hillary Clinton showed up at Ferguson this week?
Ferguson? It's still late. It's like over a year old. Like a year. There's like a year anniversary. Is that what it was?
She arrives by private jet for Ferguson area speech on race relations and Charleston terrorism.
Have you seen the movie Despicable Me?
Yeah.
Do you know the jet he flies, the black smoke?
That's what she's driving.
Black smoke is just billowing out of it.
Or referred to as a Marine A6.
Oh, yeah. The A6.
The giant goldfish.
Well, that and lots of black smoke pouring out of the back of it. Not very efficient. But anyway, go ahead.
So a friend of Michael Brown hammers her during the speech and starts screaming, "Where you been, Hillary?"
Yeah, where have you been? It's a little late to the story.
It's been 10 months, girl.
Oh, so not quite a 12.
So it didn't.
I knew it was sometime in the summer because I remember I was building a wall during the Ferguson thing.
Oh, the event was added to Hillary's itinerary after a high-dollar fundraiser was already planned in a wealthy part of St. Louis.
I ain't no ways tired.
Dude, I need that sound clip. That is just too good.
I did listen to, I guess it was Rush Limbaugh early in the week. You hear about the eulogy that Obama gave?
I kept meaning to get that, but I forgot.
Well, apparently he started singing solo, a cappella, Amazing Grace.
Oh, man.
No, he actually nailed it. I mean, he sounded like a professional singer.
Okay.
He pulled the old Clinton saxophone procedure again during this thing. But
did you hear about John Boehner? He gets his very first Air Force One ride with Obama.
So that was part of the TPP.
Definitely part of the TPP. Apparently, somebody did a mashup of Boehner's face and Obama's face.
Because he rode in the plane with him?
Yeah, it was a really creepy thing. But anyways, I forgot about this one altogether. Univision drops the Donald Trump pageant.
Yeah.
So Trump is upset about it all. But
Miss Universe.
Yeah. So apparently the president of Univision likens Donald Trump to the murderer kid in Charleston.
And for how?
It's insanity. I mean,
because if you catch the angle of the kid at just the right angle, if you take a photograph of the kid at just the right angle, his hair looks mildly similar to the toupee-like hair.
So you know what Univision got hit with?
A big fat lawsuit.
Major defamation.
Oh, man.
Major. Like he's seeking $100 billion.
Yeah, I could see that. And he should. He should go after him.
I mean, if he's not officially running for president, I don't think you can do that. If he's officially running for president, well, then you can start doing this stuff, right?
Did he say he was running? Didn't he say he was? Is he officially?
I mean, everybody referred to George Bush as Hitler, and nobody got hit with defamation.
Yeah, but Donald Trump, his whole thing is if I can get somebody with a defamation lawsuit, I'm going for it.
Right. There's no question about that.
That's Donald Trump's MO.
Yeah.
So
that's how he rolled.
Right.
Wow. Well, we hit a lot of things this week. There's a lot of stuff going on with the race relations. And
I was going to remind
Obama
you to tell.
is
I was going to remind you to tell
amping
us about the homeschooling thing with your kids.
This is unofficial. So if anybody officially is listening, this is unofficial.
Okay.
However,
but you were going to say why?
We are dumping homeschooling.
Okay.
We are completely getting out of it because, I mean, I was telling everybody, I don't know if I said this yet. Or maybe I said it earlier in the show, but I mean, you may not go have any gay marriage issues around your house. Maybe not down at the local liquor store. Maybe not at Kroger's. You might not have any, might not see it anywhere. But it will be implemented in all government buildings, in government world. The entire government will be all gay, and it's all good. So you go to the post office. They may just create a gay pride stamp.
Oh, that's guaranteed.
If they don't already have
They
one.
are probably frantically in the works right now.
Right, they'll have 2 wedding bells and a
gay flag.
A gay flag. Okay, so that is in the works. That will be happening. That will be laid out. We were thinking about having our homeschool kids, if they wanted to in high school, go to high school.
To an actual brick and mortar high school.
Right.
Okay.
And we're looking at getting into the right neighborhood and the right area to prepare for this. Well, now we're not even close. We have recoiled because the only way our kids would ever go to school would be a private school, a private Christian school that doesn't have to bow down to Common Core, because now all of a sudden, watch out for these schools, these private schools not teaching gay marriage. What's going to happen now? They're going to teach gay marriage. They're going to teach how to have gay sex safely.
Oh, I can
They're going
see
to teach
that.
it to you.
They'll be required to.
Right. And they're going to teach it to you, but I'm not gay. You don't know that yet. Or you may know someone that is gay that needs your assistance. I mean, in helping them learn.
Oh, learn. Right.
Whoa. Boy, we just slipped down that rabbit hole.
Whoa. You just slipped down that. Wait. We're in an infinite loop.
We're in a slippity slide. Banana peels to the left and to the right.
It's perpetual motion machine.
So that's the whole thing. You are going to be inundated with all gay stuff all day.
Well, yeah, it'll have to be in their minds. They're got to be thinking, well, this stuff has to be educated.
What's the next thing in the military?
Well,
this will affect the military.
Well, we got rid of the don't ask, don't tell, and that's the part of Obama's legacy that he's pointing to try to take credit for the SCOTUS decision.
Okay, so 2 military members, men, want to get married in the military.
Okay, well, of course that has to be let happen.
Absolutely,
and they will have off-base housing, and they'll get what's that the money that you get? There's a name for it.
Oh, COLA.
You get the cost of living allowance. You get all that. Honestly,
dude, I would do it.
Have you ever heard of contract marriage?
I would do it to get more money. Absolutely.
Oh, I've met several people. In fact, it's getting more common now. It's called a contract marriage. It's where a man and a woman in the military decide we would do way better off financially if we just go ahead and do a mock marriage, and they'll go and do the drive-through wedding window at Vegas.
Well, we were informed that if we were to marry someone outside of the military, maybe it was because of the other country we're in or whatnot, that it all had to go through the first sergeant.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
you can't. I mean, there's like an investigation they get involved in.
Oh, they're trying to avoid the contract marriages by adding a step to where if you're going to lie about it, you're going to lie to somebody's face. Is probably their
right.
Like
exactly.
We're going to put you in front of somebody, make you look them dead in the eye, and answer the question: are you guys really in love, and do you really want to spend the rest of your life with each other, and do you really want to have kids together and raise them?
But we can't have kids. We're gay.
Well,
we'll adopt.
We're going to make you adopt. Hey, what did I say about socialism or communism?
Oh, yeah. Everybody needs to foster these children. Everybody needs to pitch
in communism, everything that's not banned is mandatory.
Oh, right.
If it's not banned, it's mandatory.
Right.
So,
Wow.
it's not banned. If you're a military gay family, it's not banned that you can't have kids. So now it's required.
Yikes. And on that note, folks, it has been an incredible show once again. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook. Go see us on YouTube, see us everywhere. Listen to us live, iHeartRadio and iTunes. Tell your friends and family about us. Thumb it up, like it.
And don't forget that we're all over the place for you.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.